City Council meeting. We will call it to order. As first, I will say that Councilor Silver is out of town and has an excused absence, and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to see if Councilor Patton will lead us.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we have the consent agenda, and I don't believe anything was pulled, so I would entertain a motion.
Move for approval of consent agenda.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, aye. All opposed, nay. All right, so that passes, and we then move on to public comment. As all of y'all know, this is your chance to address council, so we won't necessarily respond to this, but and each speaker has 3 minutes, and the first speaker is Nikki W.
Good afternoon. I pray all are well and getting there. If I may first direct your attention toward the screen. Well, hold on. I had a presentation, but if it's not here, it's okay. Yeah.
We don't have visual presentations anymore, but you can send them to us and we can see them, you know,
I sent something.
Okay, it's in our agenda. Yep.
It's in your agenda. Oh, okay. I apologize you can't see, but what it said was, so I set up a sign-up Genius because there are, I'm asking for assistance to supply food and water for the unhoused. And even though there's thought that there is enough being done in the city, there's not. I can attest to this personally. And so I set up a sign-up Genius, and if you go on there and scroll down to search email, you can put in the THE5252 good GOOD Shepherds SHEPERDS.com and sign up for a date and time and for more information. Thank you. Next, I'd like to make mention that Juneteenth is coming up. June 19th was made a federal holiday back in 2021. Please keep in mind prayer. President Biden in prayer. It commemorates the day, as you know, in '65, that the last slaves in Texas became aware that they had been freed 2.5 years prior in January 1963. Raleigh always celebrates at Dorothea Dix Park. This year it will be 5 days early on June 19th from 12 to 6. As it recognizes the day that the last African Americans were freed, it recognizes the day that all U.S. citizens were officially free. Amen. So I ask that in the future we might also consider parade down Fayetteville Street, maybe, to bring awareness and morale. And in thinking about a prolonged freedom, I am reminded of my own journey. Some of you may remember me speaking about blockades to assistance with housing due to my refusal to consent to being placed in HMIS share systems, specifically for the unhoused. This is a case for many others as well, resulting in years without housing and sometimes death. You may also have heard about ICE targeting and raiding homeless shelters in search of undocumented persons disclosed or revealed by HMIS. Though presented as a system to prevent redundancy, it was always meant to be a tracking system, monitoring the actions and movements of marginalized people, invasive to many who have done no wrong and to those who have served their time. But homelessness is not a crime. Unhoused people are not convicts. They should not be subject to surrendering their most personal and private information to a slew of people they don't know and receive no services from, and have an opportunity to take advantage of that. It's not necessary to supply your entire social to a doctor, lawyer, or officer for services, so why then it is required to make it available to a stranger somewhere within the state who you've never met. Signatures vowing privacy, rights, and laws seem to mean nothing right now, so we can't trust that. So I ask the city, county, and community to join me in a fight to remove blocks to saving us life-saving assistance such as housing. One prefers to exercise their right to safeguard that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mamakai Sanders.
Good afternoon, y'all. It's another amazing day in paradise. Thank you all for your service. I've been talking about the 2026 All-American Cities Award for the last few public comment sessions. As I contemplated my comments for today, I realized I have yet to ask anything. And while you generally choose to remain silent, I hope this gets some movement. My ask is for the city to host or co-host a meeting to bring community members, stakeholders, and leaders together to discuss how we can win this award next year. It would be ideal if I did a presentation on the award and the 7 areas I think we should focus on. I would look for a volunteer to help me create and present at that meeting. It would also be ideal for this meeting to be held before the budget is finalized. With 7 different areas I feel the community can get behind because we have the expertise to give them our attention. In that meeting, we would get into groups to create action plans to implement along with a budget for each area. Now, I think this can be done in collaboration with one of the boards or commissions, and it's important to state that my overall objectives are to build community and save the city money with a focus on children. The 7 areas are: 1, funding. I already have a 3-year plan. 2, implementing Decade of the Child on the city level with a focus on children, youth, and families. 3, addressing affordable housing and homelessness. 4, protecting our seniors by securing and/or creating their generational wealth. 5, providing opportunities and support for upward mobility. 6, utilizing the public-private partnership model to build sidewalks that connect people to parks and schools. 7, support our city staff by paying into the separation allowance fund and providing funding for an alternative response team in the police department and bringing neighbors home so the city can focus on honoring the need for pay raises. In conclusion, I want to state that the greatest loss to the city council was Mary Black because she fully represented young people. Most people held that against her when it was actually her greatest asset, and it was her greatest, most valuable asset. Children and youth are the ones we need to focus on if we really want to see society change for good. I'm interested in seeing Raleigh take the lead on that. That's why my superhero name is Mama Kai. Just think about it, and if nothing else moves you, then let me end with saying, there's nothing that meets the 4 goals of the All-American Cities Award, leveraging civic engagement, collaboration, innovation, and inclusiveness, than to let a mom, an unhoused woman of color, lead the way to winning this award. This would be the feel-good story of the century. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Matthew Brown.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your service, and thank you for letting me speak. I'm going to talk about Raleigh's development, construction, and real estate industry. Some of these folks do wonderful work, but we can't believe everything these industries tell us. They are promulgating a view that the more housing units the city approves, the better. But if you ask Raleighites who are not in these industries whether they agree with this, most will tell you, hell no, the city's getting too crowded. The traffic's getting bad. We're losing too many trees. The flooding's getting bad. They're tearing down our neighborhoods. The taxes are too high, paying for the infrastructure. They will also tell you housing is too expensive, and the developers will say, the more units we build, the cheaper housing will be. But this is not true. Almost invariably, the units they build are more expensive than the units they tear down. Just up the street from me, they're about to tear down 3 historic houses that were affordable apartments to build luxury townhouses. And a little further up, they're going to tear down an entire affordable apartment complex to build a larger unaffordable complex. Now, the city responds by building taxpayer-funded low-income housing, and this helps. But many people don't want to move to low-income housing. They just want to rent an affordable apartment or buy an affordable house. And this is exactly what the industry is tearing down. These industries' voices will always be the loudest in your ears because they make a ton of money getting properties upzoned. And they use this money to fund organizations that spread their message. One of those folks was here a week ago saying that there's a shortage of 60,000 housing units in Wake County. But there's no scientific basis for this. According to Zillow, there is a shortage of just 17,000 in Wake, plus Johnston, plus Franklin counties. Also, according to Zillow, there are over 10,000 apartments for rent right now, and that's just those listed on Zillow. There are well over 10,000 under construction and over 30,000 that have been approved, but construction has not begun. The late, great James West served on this council from District C for 10 years. Dr. West said, "It is not the job of the city council to ensure developer profits. The job of the city council is to improve the quality of life of the citizens of Raleigh." Please evaluate each rezoning request based on whether it improves the quality of life of the citizens of Raleigh, not just whether it increases the number of housing units. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah Ali. Is Ms. Ali here? Okay. Next, Mysis Saltari. Okay, not seeing her. Marcus Simmons. Is Mr. Simmons here? Okay. Joel Bryan. Oh, Sarah Quadri. Okay, sorry. All right, also not here. Right, we're making big progress. All right, Harry McIver. Also not here. Robert Blank.
Madam Mayor, council members, staff, thank you. I'm here to scold. Let me get my notes out. Then I can remember what I said. Oh, that's what I do now that I'm in my 80s, and in fact, I'm so old. I used to be a Democrat. But let me get to the point. To put things in perspective, the decision that the Raleigh City Council made recently to endorse Campo's idea to adjust the already insane plan to build a freeway over Capitol Boulevard's already busy traffic to an even crazier plan to make it a toll road. That likely will not be seen by history as on the same scale as Napoleon's invasion of Russia, or New Coke, or even the Edsel, but it will rank close behind if it is indeed built. You have a brief packet of information, I'm going to put it in the thing there, filled with facts that make a freeway or its evil cousin, a toll road, a demonstrably bad idea. Councilman Silver, I'm sure, is aware of the damage that to this day New York's traffic planning czar, Robert Moses, inflicted on neighborhoods in that city by doing the same kind of thing that is proposed for Capitol Boulevard. Why do the same thing to Raleigh when there is a better, far less expensive alternative that has been deliberately suppressed by NCDOT? I'm referring to building a better boulevard with cloverleaf exchanges at the traffic lights that create the rush hour backups, enhanced access lanes, public transit options, and most importantly, preserving the neighborhoods and businesses that will be crushed by either a freeway or a tollway. I encourage each member to study the information and even do your own research. And lastly, this: creating a toll road over an existing free highway is legally questionable, and you can look it up. Moreover, I've given the city clerk, it's here, a copy of my research regarding the several cases in which the United States Department of Justice has prosecuted local agencies for wasting federal funds on projects for which much less expensive alternatives are available. Now that means that instead of spending $1.3 to $1.6 billion on a freeway or tollway, we could be spending about $250 to $300 million to solve the same issues. And I don't think the DOJ is going to look kindly on that. But at any rate, I thank you for your time. I hope that you will reverse that decision that you made recently. And again, thank you. I'll drop this information off.
Thank you. Next, we have Athena Wallen.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Athena Wallen. Sorry, I'm having a low self-confidence day here. Today, I wanted to remind you that our stormwater creeks are beautifully fascinating, but they still need our help. I want to keep inspiring you all to redefine our relationship with our natural waterways that dance through public and private properties. Reanalyzing our stormwater creeks and repurposing the spaces around them to better care for these ecosystems as stewards of the environment should be a collaborative goal. There are consequences to adding impervious surface close to the rapidly eroding stream banks without stabilizing these systems to accept and process the increase of stormwater runoff, let alone what we currently need to manage. There are benefits to striving toward connecting longer segments of the creek system in order to better maintain it over time. It's also a cost mitigation strategy. If our research and studies take decades to accumulate and our policies are from a younger time, what are we able to do in between these big steps? If our dense canopy and root systems take decades to weave together neighborhood environmental resiliency, what are we doing to address the loss of the connected stabilization now? As one section of the neighborhood gets developed, it unpredictably alters how a neglected stormwater creek behaves. A single property cannot be responsible for the integrity of a neighborhood stormwater creek that serves a broader utility service. But together, stream health can be analyzed from a broader perspective to collaborate on restoration strategies according to the neighborhood's needs. Small changes to neglected creeks can help from season to season, and that buys us so much time. If given the opportunity, this would also create neighborhood green spaces and help us educate about the ecosystems around us. I keep asking about this wild concept of an advisory hold for creek-lined properties, but it's because it would have been so much easier, obviously not able to be done. But if we had the time to discuss and analyze and address these concerns alongside of the planning and development that we are currently experiencing, we could have had stronger stream banks now, and it would have been a less dire conversation later. Part of seeing what we have now in our connected stream systems requires a lot of thoughtful leadership, because there is no easy way to address the equity of this. But neighborhoods cannot keep up if we don't have an extensive library of resources for this complex situation. So I just keep imploring the leadership of everybody, trying to think creatively and redefine policies for our creeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, we've got Helen Tart.
Hi, I'm kind of here to support Athena. She's my neighbor, and we're talking about the same creek, Cemetery Branch, along Brookside Drive. And I'm also hoping that y'all will take another look at the bigger picture, because there are houses built in floodplains all over the city. And I know that to get the new rules passed, they grandfathered in a lot of these places. There's 2 houses that Christina Jones helped me get the stormwater people to look at along this same creek, where they're replacing a small house with something 10 times the size, 5 feet from the edge of the creek. And just the weight of something that heavy is not reasonable to expect it to not fall into the creek. And that would be a major problem for the people upstream. But I'm hoping that maybe you could talk to the Stormwater Committee and maybe grandfather in the grandfathering. You know, if you give them 200 years to do what they're going to do, maybe, and then if just limit how much redevelopment they're allowed to do. It is, and it really makes no financial sense to do this just because you can, and so you can make $1.5 million or however much they end up getting for these houses. But I know Athena has been here over and over again, and I'm hoping that the Stormwater Department will work. There's several places where I think we could do projects that would mitigate the problems that the redevelopment is having. And it would give us a sense of being listened to. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes public comment. And did we have any voicemail? Okay. All right, next we have the report and recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Good afternoon, Bynum Walter, Planning and Development. I'm joined this afternoon by Nicole Bennett, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. She chaired the May 8th meeting that the items you're hearing about today, when they were discussed. We have some upcoming holidays between now and the end of June for your consideration. We have some hearings that are already scheduled. So the public hearing for Honeycutt Road will be continued on June 3rd in the afternoon. And then we have two rezoning requests two items that will be discussed at public hearing on the evening of June 3rd. The first is a rezoning request on Athens Drive. That's also a continuation of a previously opened public hearing matter, and then discussion of the street closing for the Clover Lane right-of-way. There are 4 items coming out of Planning Commission. Today, we're suggesting all of them for public hearing on June 17 at the afternoon meeting. I'll walk through each of these. The first is Tar Heel Clubhouse. This is a large request, almost 80 acres, going from agricultural production to R6 with conditions. The Planning Commission had a split vote here. Generally, had mixed feelings about whether or not residential development was appropriate here, given the future land use map designation. Again, suggested public hearing June 17. The next item is a handful of lots on Avent Ferry, just west of Gorman Street. So this is just barely over 2 acres. Combination of R4 and R6, so residential districts. They all have the special residential parking overlay district on them, and the R6 lots have some conditions already on them. The request would unify the conditions across all parcels, retain the overlay, and make the base district consistent across. Also, a split vote from Planning Commission here. Concerns about how the limits on density of the current conditions and the offered conditions would interact with the FTDO. Again, public hearing suggested for June 17. And these last 2 items will look a lot like one item. The applicant decided to file separate applications for 2 adjacent parcels. So the first is just under an acre, going from rural residential in the Durham County zoning system to residential 6 with conditions in the Raleigh system. This area of Durham County is within Raleigh's annexation boundary, given literally the lay of the land. I feel like that's used figuratively so often, and the ability to provide service. This comes to us, and we'll see the annexation come forward to you to be scheduled at a date to match whatever you do today. Planning Commission recommends approval unanimously, and the same for this other lot that is, again, about an acre and very similarly disposed. The request is the same. What questions do you have for me or for Chair Bennett before you schedule public hearings?
Okay, questions? Yes, Councilor Harrison.
Yeah, just one question for Chair Bennett with you here. I saw the vote on the Avent Ferry case. There was a concern about the fence, and I wonder if you could just speak to that while you're here. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. I was the dissenting vote on that one, and as I told the applicant, I wasn't opposed to the actual project. I think it's a good project and a good location, but I had some concerns about the revisions to the conditions. I felt like the way some of them were written, they may unintentionally exclude some members of the community, and then I never like to see conditions with fences separating residential from residential. If it's separating residential from, industrial or commercial or some safety reason, then I'm fine with it. But I don't think separating one type of housing from another type of housing with the fence was just something that I was comfortable with. But I was comfortable overall with the rezoning request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Jones, did you have anything? No. Okay. Counselor Patton.
Yes. Hi. This might be for Commissioner Bennett too. Looking at the Tar Heel Clubhouse, I wonder if you could just flesh out a little bit more about the conversation that resulted in that split vote. I know you said the future land use map, but maybe put a little meat on the bones about what was considered and what, if anything, would have brought the commissioners to a level of comfort.
Yes, we talked about this one quite a bit. And the conversation generally centered around the location of the rezoning request, and if that is an area where we really wanted to encourage increased density. We talked about the lack of transit, and we talked about actually some of the conversations that council has had about the cost of development in outer areas. On the other hand, some commissioners supported the rezoning because of its location near an elementary school that's under capacity, and the fact that it is near I-540, and the fact that it would produce increased housing supply. So that was really the gist of the conversation, if we thought the cost of developing out this far outweighed the benefit.
Okay, great. And as an aside, and Bynum, this one might be for you, at the retreat, we began a conversation around annexations and growth in these outer areas. I don't think this one would technically have fallen in the Northeast Special Study Area or the Southeast, kind of in the no man's land between them. But do you know when those annexation conversations will kind of come back to us?
Oh, the broader
broader question.
I think we'll have an update for you before the break, and then some more specific information following that.
Okay.
I was just going to say, this request the annexation and the rezoning will come to you together at public hearing. Once you schedule this public hearing, we'll have the annexation on consent for you to schedule the public hearing at the same time. And much like we treated the Old Milburnie Old Cruise request, we will have additional contextual maps for you to help you see the bigger picture about this decision.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I think there may be some further conversations I need to have with the applicant, but I'm happy to set the public hearing as suggested by staff.
Okay, any other questions? If not, anybody want to make a motion?
Just motion to set all the public hearings as suggested by staff?
Yep. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next we have special items, including council contingency, and we have Ms. Michelle Millette here.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I also want to thank Evan for pinch hitting for me last meeting, last minute. So I know you all missed me and my contingency update. So we have just a few, but before we get to the few, I do want to remind you all that some of you all do have a balance. So keep in mind you have one last meeting in order to make sure we process those payments and get those agencies funded before the end of the fiscal year. So here's your balance. Here is the current request. Mayor Cowell has requested for a RISE Collective, and Councilmember Silver has a request for the Raleigh Housing Fund, specifically the Moss House. So the action is before you.
Okay, any questions?
Move for approval.
All right, all in favor of the motion, aye. All opposed, nay. And
Thank
we
you.
appreciate your presence. Good to see you back.
Good to see you all as well. And I'm going to step up here in order for your next item, but I am not speaking with you all.
Okay. All right, next we have the report and recommendation of the city manager, and we will have the proposed operating budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year beginning July 1st.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and to some of our staff members that are sitting out in the audience, the moment that most people have been waiting for. But before you get to those final numbers, we do have to tell the story. We have to talk about the narrative around how we started, how we negotiated, and where we landed. And I will start the presentation off by sharing part of the manager's letter, that is the preamble to the actual proposed document. And then Sadia Sitar, our budget and management services director, will then follow through on the different components of the FY26 budget. So here we are. So I am pleased, as the city manager, to submit the manager's proposed budget for FY 2026 and the proposed 5-year capital improvement plan for FY 26 through FY 2030. These documents, balanced at $1.78 billion, reflect a culmination of evaluation, analysis, and prioritization of community, city council, and organizational goals. Pursuant to the Raleigh City Charter and the North Carolina Fiscal Control Act, this budget represents the operational cost for the City of Raleigh for the period of July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. The annual budget is a financial forecast that outlines policy priorities, financial goals, and resource allocations. It represents our pledge to fiscal accountability and financial responsibility, and it further reinforces our commitment to service and organizational excellence. This tool reinforces prudent stewardship of our residents' trust and their resources. The theme of this year's proposed budget, our greatest asset, our workforce, reiterates our commitment to the selfless public servants who deliver high-quality services to our residents every single day. Their energy, effort, creativity, and commitment to excellence helps to create the capital city where everyone is supported, valued, and respected. To acknowledge these efforts, the proposed FY 2026 budget includes the results of the comprehensive compensation and classification study that delivers a new structure for our 7,000 plus employees and more than 450 job classifications. This will allow the city to align our workforce to the market and ensure that we can maintain and build upon our market competitiveness and remain among the best run and highest performing cities in the country. In fact, in February of this year, the Milken Institute named the City of Raleigh the best performing large city in the nation. This prestigious report highlighted our thriving high-tech sector, strong labor market, community resilience, and robust access to economic opportunities. Up from a ranking of number 2 in 2024, Raleigh performed in the top quarter of large metros in 11 of 13 metrics in the Best Performing Cities Index. Our close proximity to 3 major universities and the Research Triangle Park position the Raleigh metro area to have a substantially higher GDP share than the national average in high tech. This ranking recognizes the cumulative effect of past and present community investments, prudent planning, strong community leadership, and strategic partnerships between the public and private sectors. This ranking places the city in a favorable position for future economic growth and development opportunities. The current level of economic uncertainty is a uniquely challenging event. However, Raleigh prides itself on maintaining strong financial policies and practices that allow us to prepare, respond, and to adjust to the changing financial climate around us. Despite declining revenue and inflationary cost pressures, the proposed FY 2026 budget utilizes several expenditure adjustments, strategies to make room for investments that are more critical to the organization and the community, and we're doing all of this without a tax increase. This $1.78 billion budget is designed to make priority investments across all of Raleigh's services and key focus areas. It balances immediate investments in our workforce with long-term investments in capital and technology that will successfully prepare us for our future. It also includes adjustments that will allow for additional predictability as we begin to plan some of our major bond investments in areas such as housing and transportation. Out of the total proposed budget of $1.78 billion, $657.1 million is dedicated to the city's general fund, and the remainder is reserved for debt service, capital expenditures, and non-general fund operating funds. It is expected that several external influences will present a challenge for local governments in the coming years, but we are prepared to respond to these conditions through new financial tools and advanced planning strategies. This year's budget was themed Our Greatest Asset, Our Workforce, because of the significant investments that are included for our employees. For they are the reason that the city of Raleigh remains on top of some of the most acclaimed rankings of the country's best cities in which to live, work, play, and learn. Our employees deliver world-class services with a high level of integrity and empathy for our residents. However, over the past several years, like many cities, Raleigh has experienced challenges attracting and retaining employees. To address this, the city commissioned a classification and compensation study last year to ensure the city's pay practices are competitive and aligned to the market. Benchmark jobs were compared to positions with similar roles and responsibilities in some North Carolina cities, including Apex, Cary, Charlotte, Durham, Greensboro, Wake Forest, and Mecklenburg and Wake counties. Also, some of our peer benchmark cities outside of the state of North Carolina, including Austin, Texas, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Mesa, Arizona, and Virginia Beach, Virginia. As a result of this analysis, several adjustments to compensation are proposed in the FY26 budget. These adjustments total $35.8 million. And Budget Director Sadia Satara will daylight them in her presentation that follows. When we began this budget development process earlier in 2024, the goal was to create an avenue to make the necessary workforce investments and to maintain our service levels without a property tax increase, and this budget does just that. In addition to significant investments in employee compensation, the budget also recommends strategic investments in affordable housing, public safety, technology, community engagement, transportation, staffing, and parks, particularly Dix Park, just to name a few. This budget also refocuses our efforts around business engagement and business support through the shift of the Division of Community and Economic Development in the current Office of Housing and Neighborhoods to the rebranded Department of Economic and Social Advancement. You will hear more from Ms. Sattar about the details of the budget. But to conclude my remarks, public service is a calling that draws individuals who place the collective good of the community over their own selfish individual goals and priorities. I am blessed to work every day with public servants that love this work, but more importantly, love who we do this work for. Next year's proposed budget acknowledges that dedication and commitment from our amazing staff, but it also does so much more. The FY 2026 budget is a reflection of community, council, and organizational values and priorities. It is a framework by which prudent financial decisions about our community's future will be made. It is an expression of the compassion and passion that we share for our capital city. It sustains our promise of peace and order through strategic investments in public safety. It is a tool that will direct and govern internal practices and policies. It is an articulation of our shared vision for the city of Raleigh. But most importantly, it represents our investment in you, our community, and our staff. So again, while economic uncertainty looms in the immediate future, I am certain that Raleigh will continue to thrive as one of the premier cities in the country because we have a sound financial posture, a dedicated and professional staff that is second to none, and an unparalleled resolve. The proposed FY 2026 budget captures the best of our present and aligns investments for our prosperous future, again, without a tax increase. The budget development process is a complex exercise that encourages and solicits input and feedback from our stakeholders. I would be remiss if I did not applaud the efforts of Budget Director Sadia Sitar and the team in the Budget and Management Services Department. A special thanks to each department director for unselfishly valuing Team Raleigh rather than a respective department throughout this process. I applaud the residents of Raleigh who showed up in various forms to communicate your goals and ideas for FY 2026. In closing, to Mayor Cowell and the Raleigh City Council, I am forever thankful for your support and direction. I am honored to serve with each of you. As you review the proposed investments, I trust that you will see your policy direction has guided much of the work that is captured throughout the budget document that Sadia will present. Thank you. That's a lot.
All right. Thank you for, I know, all the work and hours that has gone into this, and to you, Sadia Sitar, as well. So please.
Absolutely. So good afternoon, Mayor, members of City Council, and City Manager. I'm Sadia Sitar from Budget and Management Services, and I'm here today to present the City Manager's proposed operating and capital budget for the upcoming fiscal year, that being fiscal year 2026. As you can see from the cover of our proposed budget book, our theme for this year's budget really focuses on our people here in the city, the theme being our greatest asset, our workforce. It's no surprise to most of us in this room that the City of Raleigh continues to receive accolades, a testament to our educated and diverse workforce, combined with a very good quality of life that sets us apart from most communities. Our goal in this budget has been to continue to invest in our city's future through consistent and conscientious investments in our people and our infrastructure. And as we built the budget for the upcoming fiscal year, we encountered a very different financial landscape than the one we did last year. From high inflation leading to high cost of doing business, the end of pandemic-era federal aid, and uncertainty in Washington, 2025 has been a year of vast economic ambiguity. This uncertainty was at the forefront as we started to build the proposed budget when we kicked off budget engagement in December of last year. And it would come as no surprise that our residents remain happy with our parks, public safety personnel, and our core services like water, stormwater, and solid waste. However, there remains work to be done with needs for affordable housing, sidewalks, and other areas in our community. These results also concur with the community survey that was conducted earlier this year, where residents expressed affordable housing, the pace of growth in the City of Raleigh, as well as transportation as their overall priorities. And despite these needs, overwhelmingly 84% of our residents expressed their satisfaction with the overall quality of life in our city. In December, we also kicked off the budget process. In response to growing economic uncertainty, as well as residents' concern expressed throughout the budget engagement process, we made the decision to build a budget without a tax increase. And that involved self-reflection and figuring out, as we've always done, how to do more with less. We challenged our departments to find creative ways to fund the class income study. We challenged our departments to look at vacant positions, to see if they can be removed. And we challenged our departments to see if they can fulfill their needs without adding to their budgets. At this time, I would like to take the opportunity to thank each and every department. With the rising cost of doing business, we recognize that you all had to make tough decisions. And while it was not easy, departments were able to collectively find $3.2 million in savings, which were then turned around to fund the class and comp study and to maintain current service levels. In addition, 6 vacant positions were removed from the city's payroll. As I had mentioned previously, the City of Raleigh is not immune to changes in the economic landscape experienced at the national level. And as a result, earlier this year, we also had to revise down our This graphic depicts the property and sales tax growth experienced by the city since fiscal year 2021. The blue bars are our property tax, the green bars are sales tax, the blue line are growth in sales tax, and the orange line are growth in our property tax revenues. As you can see from the blue line, our sales tax has experienced double-digit growth during the pandemic. However, that growth seems to have gone away. As a result, we had to revise down our sales tax projection to a negative almost 0.5% for the first time in years. Similarly, the city has raised property taxes and experienced a 2% natural growth in property taxes since fiscal year 2021. This year, however, not only is the city manager not proposing a property tax increase, but due to refunds and appeals owing to the reval that we experienced last year, property tax revenues are projected to grow by less than 2% for the upcoming fiscal year. And because of these stark realities, and because they deliver our services every day, this budget focuses on our employees. It continues to maintain existing service levels, and it does so without a recommended tax increase. To that end, the City of Raleigh's all-funds budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $1.78 billion. In prior years, the all-funds budget, as City Council will recall, included the operating and the capital budget. This year, the all-funds budget is also accounting or including bond proceeds, an important part of city business, and that is why we made the decision to include them. The City of Raleigh's general fund budget for the upcoming fiscal year, as the city manager mentioned previously, is $657.1 million, a budget that, once again, I'd like to say does not introduce a property tax increase, but it continues critical investments in our employees and also maintains existing service levels. As you can see from the slide, that property taxes continue to remain our largest source of revenue at 54% of general fund revenues. Similarly, our investments in public safety comprise of 40% of our general fund expense budget. City Council will notice that our general fund budget has decreased by slightly over 10% compared to that of last year. And that's because of a change in budgeting, which enables the steady state model. Last year's general fund budget included property tax revenues, which were transferred to the debt service fund. In fiscal year 26, the proposed general fund budget is lower due to removing the debt service fund transfer. This year's budget directly appropriates property tax and Article 40 sales tax revenues associated with debt finance projects in the city's debt service fund. This enables the first phase of the steady state approach, which City Council was introduced to during the City Council retreat in January of this year. This method of budgeting is transparent in allocating revenues to support operations and capital infrastructure. More information on steady state and advanced planning is going to be provided later in this presentation. And to round out our conversations about revenues, I do want to remind City Council that we did speak to you earlier in the year about our city's enterprises. Residents will not see a property tax increase, but they will see increases to their water, stormwater, and solid waste bills. A median household in the city of Raleigh can see an increase in their fees of $4.33, which is a 0.3% increase from last year. For Councillor Megan Patton, we have a special graphic. This graphic is a clear depiction of how the city spends $1 of our residents' property taxes. As you can see, almost 40 cents goes towards our public safety. Almost 20 cents, or 19.5, goes towards our special appropriations. And what that is, you might ask, is where we fund our health insurance, our workers' comp, as well as our pay-go transfers. General government occupies about 11.6 cents. General government comprising of our administrative departments like budget, HR, finance, IT. Our parks and our recreation centers occupy just a little bit over 12 cents. And finally, infrastructure and public services, which is our roads, our traffic lights, occupy 16.3 cents. Actually, last but not least, our grants program occupies about 0.7 cents. The largest investment in this year's budget is an investment in our people. Over the course of the past few months, our vendor Siegel and our Human Resources Department have provided City Council with a recap of the efforts of the Class and Comp study. City Council will remember that we set aside 1 cent of the property tax in anticipation of this very expense in last year's budget. Findings of our vendor reveal that across all benchmark findings, the city's pay ranges are 9% below the midpoint, and 7% below the maximum for all employees against peer organizations. As a result, we are proposing increases in our budget of 9% for exempt employees, 11% for public safety and non-exempt employees, and 5% for temporary and permanent part-time employees. This also means that we are increasing the starting salaries for our public safety personnel. Police officer starting salaries will now be $61,417. Firefighter starting salaries will be $56,825, and an emergency telecommunicator's starting salary will now be $49,100. This budget promises to fully implement the results of the Class and Comp study, the total of which, as the city manager said earlier, is $35.8 million across all funds in the city of Raleigh. With the hard work across all departments this year, the city will fully implement the study in September of 2025. And I'd like to add again that we did this without a tax increase, as we had the foresight to set aside a penny for this effort in last year's budget. There's no doubt that public safety is a significant portion of our city budget. It's also an important investment. It is critical to our designation for being one of the best places to live, work, and play. The city has made significant investments to ensure our public safety personnel are compensated fairly. Since fiscal year 20 and throughout the height of the pandemic, Raleigh has committed an additional $45.9 million to its public safety employees. And over the course of that time frame, police employees have seen their salary grow by a little over 45%, fire to almost 45%, and ECC to almost 44%. Before I move on, I would like to summarize that we are making a significant investment in our employees this year, some of whom, if they are below the new minimum pay range, will receive more than an 11% increase in pay due to the city ensuring that all employees are compensated at the new minimum pay range. And finally, employees will not see any increases for medical or pharmacy next year. In fact, our Plan A employees can see a decrease or a reduced Plan A deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. And while the Class and Comp study is no doubt the major investment in this year's budget, we have also made significant investments in other areas while not increasing taxes to ensure that Raleigh remains the wonderful city that it is. The second largest investment in this year's fiscal budget is our commitment to Dix Park. A signature investment for all of Raleigh and the Southeast, Dix Park was recently named one of the best top 10 city parks in the United States. First, this budget includes full-year programming for Gibson Play Plaza to ensure that residents and visitors alike are able to fully enjoy this one-of-a-kind amenity in our city. We are all looking forward to the big opening of Gibson Play Plaza just next month. Second, with the transfer of DHHS facilities a year earlier than anticipated, this budget invests funds towards ground maintenance of over 300 acres and the demolition and maintenance of aging facilities. A combined investment of $11.7 million will ensure that the park remains safe for all visitors. Our new City Hall is rapidly adding floors, which means new building systems will be going in. The building is anticipated to reach substantial completion by the end of calendar year 2026. The occupancy of this new facility may seem like a couple of years away, but it will be here before we know it. And to ensure that transitions happen smoothly, this budget is committing 3 FTE and $330,000. Our Raleigh Fire Department responded to more rescue and EMS incidents last year in comparison to the 2023 calendar year. This year, we are funding 2 academies for the fire department, and by this year, I mean fiscal year 2025. And we are going to be doing so again in fiscal year 2026 so that the department become fully staffed. With motor vehicle theft seeing a 19% decline from the first quarter of fiscal year 2025 compared to the first quarter of fiscal year 24, Raleigh's Police Task Force continues to rely on software and data to protect our communities. To ensure that they continue to keep us safe, this budget recommends adding $250,000 for critical software needs. After a couple years of significant improvements with our vendor to improve customer service, this budget continues that trend of customer service improvement. A Go Raleigh Access customer service technician will be added to Transit's budget to expand call center hours to include limited weekend hours and reduce wait times for community members calling to schedule trips. And finally, in the areas of general government, we will continue our commitment to ensure that the city's employees stay safe through $600,000 for cybersecurity infrastructure. We are investing almost $500,000 for the Customer Experience Management Program, which we'll unveil here in the next fiscal year. And we are also including commitments for employee relations in HR and community engagement in our Community Engagement Department. So this wraps up my highlights for the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026. I will now speak to the fiscal year 26 capital budget, which continues intentional alignment with resident priorities expressed during the city's budget engagement process. The City of Raleigh's fiscal year 2026 capital budget is $616.9 million, which continues the commitment of 1 cent equivalent of property tax for affordable housing, parks maintenance needs, streets resurfacing, and general PAYGO projects. Our capital project funds consist of a combination of enterprise bonds, general government bonds, as well as PAYGO projects for $598 million to address needs in the city related to housing, parks and recreation, public safety, etc. You'll notice here that this $598 million is $18 million less than the $616 million that I shared in the prior slide. And I'll go into a little detail about that in a few minutes. In response to the needs expressed by our residents during budget engagement, as well as in the community survey, the City of Raleigh will invest approximately $25 million to affordable housing initiatives, which is a combination of the last year of the 2020 housing bond, as well as the penny for housing. Included in this is $3 million for homelessness prevention efforts. In the area of transportation, the city is committing $13.2 million for street improvements, $3.1 million for sidewalk repairs, and $2.5 million for parking deck security cameras. Lastly, for our general PAYGO projects, the city is committing $1 million to replace fire hydrants in the city that have reached their end of useful life, $1.1 million for building improvements and security upgrades, $1.2 million for public safety needs to include updates to our real-time crime center as well as RPD headquarters. And these investments in the city's infrastructure, again, I would like to reiterate, are a direct response to resident preferences. And we are proud to highlight the ones on this slide, but there are so many more. Finally, to ensure that the city continues to strategically invest resources as it grows, along with the steady state approach mentioned earlier, the fiscal year 26 budget proposes an advanced planning model. With a commitment of $18 million, which is the difference between that $616 that you saw earlier and the $598 that I was speaking to you all about as well, the city is establishing the advanced planning model to improve cost forecasting of major capital projects. To explain further, directly budgeting taxes associated with debt finance projects in the debt service fund, like we are doing in fiscal year 26, reduces the general fund in fiscal year 26, as you saw in our prior slides. A lower general fund budget reduces our fund balance requirement. In turn, that generates a one-time larger amount of capital reserves. The one-time surplus capital reserves, estimated at $18 million, are proposed to create the advanced planning fund for the city. As projects move out of advanced planning and into full design and construction, future debt issuances will replenish the advanced planning fund. By doing so, we will have a continuous way to strategically plan for the initial design of large capital projects in the city. For the upcoming fiscal year, the city recommends initial design for the top 2 priorities of the city's fire master plan recommendations, as well as design for the Southeast Remote Operations Center. Our initial design is complete. Once initial design is complete in advanced planning, council will be presented with the estimated full design and construction costs for consideration of approval. When these projects enter full design and construction, the city will issue debt, which will replenish the advanced planning fund, hence completing the cycle. And to that end, the total 5-year capital improvement program for the city of Raleigh from fiscal year 26 to 30 is $2.47 billion. I would also like to highlight that included in those general public improvements that you see there on the slide is Fire Station 15, as well as the full build-out of Fire Station 1 and its administrative offices. So as we wrap up, I do want to remind City Council that budget work sessions will begin on Monday, June the 2nd at 4 p.m. here in Chambers, and will take place each Monday in June till the budget is adopted. A public budget hearing is also scheduled for June 3rd at 7 p.m., and staff has received 2 budget notes from City Council, which will be presented at our first work session on June 2nd. At this point, I would like to let our residents know that the proposed budget, should they like to see it, is already on our website at budget.raleighnc.gov. Also on that website, they'll find an updated public budget dashboard where they can toggle our budget to see where we've made our investments. They can also see the city manager's letter, as well as the budget and brief that this budget of office has prepared for this fiscal year. I would also like to take this time to acknowledge our partners in City Manager's Office, in Communications, in Finance, and in HR. Thank you so much for working so incredibly hard for us and with us this budget. And then finally, I want to say a special thank you to my team. So can budget please stand up? This is where I get to embarrass them once a year. So I feel blessed because I really have been blessed by the A team. Each and every member of this office continues to do exceptional work, and they do not know how much they mean to me and how much their work means to this community. So can we all just give them a hand, please, for all the great work that they've done? Thank you. All right, and with that, I am done presenting the budget, and I would like to open the floor to any questions you may have.
All right, questions? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sadia, and to your team for putting this budget together. Just really excited that we do not have a property tax increase. That was something that I believe all of council made clear, and the city manager, y'all did a great job getting there. So thank you. I know that means a lot to our residents. There are a lot of uncertainties right now in the economy, and so I hope this brings folks a little bit of calm. I'm also really excited about all of the raises, salary increases for our employees across the board. It's huge. I wonder if you could remind us, what is the property tax for a median valued home? So I don't know if you have that number off the top of your head.
1,200 something. I can get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just to kind of bring it back to, as Councilmember Patton brings up, just what does that mean for your average resident? And I also am curious, when we think about affordable housing and its role in the budget, it seems as though we have enough funds to support our continued, what we've been doing, into this next year. But with the affordable housing bond, drying up soon, we are going to have to take a look about how do we bring some more monies to bear in that pot. Could you tell us how many projects we could not fund this year? I know we were discussing that. There were a couple affordable housing projects that we had that we weren't able to get to.
So, I'm happy to turn the floor over to MLS Sutton, who is our Housing and Neighborhoods Director, or if the City Manager would like to take this.
think Imola is coming.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Imola. And my point here is that, we've have a lot of opportunities in this space, and we talked about an affordable housing project that we have, agreed to fund downtown in Moore Square. That's going to have about $11 million we need to find. And so I'm just thinking about into the future, how do we keep finding those monies?
Yes, MLS Sutton Housing and Neighborhood. So we had, let's see, I want to say 55. We had several. I don't want to give the exact number, and I just heard this number yesterday, so I apologize. I can get you the exact number, but we were definitely oversubscribed, right? So we had several more applications than what we were able to fund, and so yes, the demand definitely outstretches what we have available to provide.
And so just to clarify, several, like 2 to 3 or more than that?
More than that, double digits.
Yes. Okay, double digits. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that is just what I wanted to get a hold of. Thank you.
And so internally, to address some of that, we are starting our conversations this summer around what our bond strategy is going to be for the next couple of years, which bonds, how much, and how do we kind of roll that out.
Councilor Jones.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for your hard work. I'm really excited about the raises and the starting salaries. Can you please speak to those longer-term employees and what that translates for them? Because I know the starting salaries go up, and we talked briefly about it yesterday. But how do the raises, that structure, can you go through that one more time?
So I will take that one. The raises apply across the board. So regardless of where you are in the range, if you are in the non-exempt category, you get 11%. So whether you're at the minimum, the midpoint, or the max, after you go to the max of the range, obviously you kind of cap out and get a lump sum, but everybody up to the max will get that 11%.
Awesome.
And exempt will get 9%.
Thank you.
Can you remind us exempt versus non-exempt employees? What do those categories mean?
So your exempt categories typically are your management and executive level positions, and your non-exempt or more considered to be hourly wages, what they're eligible for overtime pay.
So for non-exempt, if they get 11%, but they do overtime, that 11% overtime and a half, they could ideally get more money than 11%.
Yes, because at overtime it's time and a half. So
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then some will obviously, if you are below the new minimums that are going to be applied when we implement the new system, you have the opportunity to get more than 11% right out of the gate.
Okay. And then also, I see all employees will be brought to their, like you said, the minimum, whatever their class, job classification is.
Yes.
And this will all take place September 25th?
Yes,
Okay.
September of 25, yes.
25, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You will recall when we implemented in 2017, we were not able to fund the implementation in its entirety the first round, so we phased in. And what we were not able to do is bring everybody up to their new minimums. When we embarked upon this study last year, we committed that we were going to at least raise everybody to the new minimum, because really what's the purpose of doing the study if you're not going to acknowledge the fact that you're below? So everybody needs to be brought up. So we feel real good about the level of investment that will allow us to do it all at once.
Hi, Zadia. Thanks for this. Yeah, I'll just add my own exclamation mark on the employee raises, bringing up starting salaries. It was a big conversation last term and during the election cycle of, would we phase in the comp study? And there was concern that last time it had been phased in, and by the time it got to the end, it was already outdated. And so I think it's a real, I just think it's a real testament to be doing it this way. So I'm really glad to see that. Also glad to see no tax increase. I did pull up the presentation from last year. It looks like you had a slide on it that the median tax bill last year was $1,391, to answer your question.
And I think that's probably a little bit higher now because that was prior to the new reevaluation values. So I think the average median is like 431,000.
431,000. I think we may be looking at 1390-ish, but we'd be happy to put that in a proper response and get that to all of you. Yes.
One couple of questions I did have. The rainy day fund, I think by policy it's 17% of the general fund, but because of this new way of directly allocating to the debt service, our general fund is smaller, so 17% of a smaller number is less.
Yes.
And so what are the impacts of having a smaller fund balance? Are we putting ourselves in any sort of a risk if there's calamity that we...
Well, I would like to, I see our Finance Director, Allison, there, and I would be happy to let her chime in because she's a subject matter expert. But I think that the very fact that the city has a AAA bond rating is an indicament to the fact that we have been so conscientious with how we do things here in the city of Raleigh. We have been fiscally responsible. We're still going to continue to meet that 17% GFOA requirement, as you're saying. And yes, that may be smaller, but we've built enough capacity to, as the city manager said in her, introduction to this, to weather the storm, no matter what that would be. And I'm going to pass it off to Allison Bratcher here.
Allison Bratcher with the Finance Department. I'm not sure I could have said it better than Saudia. We're still going to be very financially sound. The 17%, you will recall we raised it not too long ago, and so we're going to keep that 17%, again, AAA rated. We're going to be very conscious of that. So while it is a smaller number, it's still okay.
And then just some of the things that came up, so the fire master plan came up. This is not a time to discuss the full body of the fire master plan, but just for the sake of the public, do you know when that's going to come back to us?
I'll defer to the manager here.
I think that presentation is slated for the June 17th City Council agenda.
Perfect. And then when we first embarking on New City Hall was before my time, but last term, when we continued the march forward on New City Hall, some of the discussion was around like what will happen to the other buildings that will dispose of property to pay down the debt for New City Hall. And there was some back and forth about like, will we do it through upset bid or will we do them for RFPs to get other public benefits? And again, not the time to have this full discussion, but I wonder like, do we know when we'll be, I feel like we should begin to have those conversations before we move into the new City Hall. Is that like slated for discussion? Do we know when we'll bring it back?
Not necessarily a discussion about this particular building in and of itself. However, we are internally working on a disposition strategy that we will bring forward when we bring the next update of facilities to you all for consideration. But we've got a little bit of time. So again, we're going to look at market conditions, look at what's the highest and best use of not just the building, but this land that's under it. And it might be more valuable just for a demo. So we're going to consider all of those options and then bring forward a disposition strategy. Okay. But that will be next year sometime.
Okay, great. I think I'm good for now.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have a couple more. And just to reiterate, for anyone in the public who wants to make comment on the budget, they do need to sign up just like a regular public hearing, and that's for the June 3rd meeting at 7 p.m. So they'd need to sign up on the Friday before.
By 3 p.m.
By 3 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just want to let everyone know that. I also wanted to bring up, I guess, going back to the affordable housing piece, there's a need for money, certainly, gap financing for projects, and then there's also a need for land. So sometimes we have land available, sometimes we provide financing, opportunities. It's a mix. And so I have just wanted to put it out to staff that I'd like to understand any of the constraints or opportunities for affordable housing with the Raleigh tract. And I know that's a little bit separate from the budget question, but it's been requested to us by various members of the public, and a lot of our city council went to visit some affordable housing opportunities in New York City to learn. And so I just want to put that out there as a request to understand, either in a manager's report or an upcoming work session, what are the opportunities specifically for putting aside 100 acres in the Raleigh tract for affordable housing.
Yep.
Just a quick question for the city manager. Does the county, aren't they also part owner of that tract?
So what I was going to say, that Raleigh tract presents several opportunities, but also some partnerships that will be required as it is co-owned by the city and Wake County.
Can I add as a footnote, if we're bringing back challenges and opportunities for the Randley tract, could we also bring back challenges and opportunity for Wilders Grove, the landfill that I think is coming up near on its 30-year, end of its 30-year monitoring?
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, just a couple more items. I know there were some budget notes that were requested by city council members, and some of the items might have ended up just within the budget. So I wanted to ask specifically about, I think there were 2 intersection improvements that we discussed earlier, and that was in a transportation committee meeting. And I wonder if Michael or Paul could speak to that. Were those able to be found within the transportation department budget, or do those need to be looked at separately?
I can speak to it, or either of you guys can speak to it. You want me? Yes, we were able to capture those in the proposed document already, so there's no need to have a standalone item for that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Right. I would just make the comment that, again, I think the whole no tax increase and to do as much as we have seems a lot of work, and appreciate people digging deep and also making some cuts to get here. So thank you for this, and I know we'll hear a lot more from citizens as we go forward in the next few weeks, and we all dig through this in detail, but thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you all so much for guiding us. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
On that note, can we review how the public can access this budget?
Yes,
I
online
understand,
right
but I
now.
just want to make sure that people watching know exactly how to.
It's right
Just
there on
go
the link
there.
in front of you,
Right there,
budget.raleighnc.gov.
so that they just go there and
Yes,
then there.
everything is there thanks to our communications department.
Perfect. Please
And the
look at it
handouts
send-
that you all have as well are
Yes.
being uploaded.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. Next, we have matters scheduled for public hearing, and I just wanted to make one technical clarification. So for votes today, since we're one counselor down, it's still a 5-vote, right, to get anything passed? Okay. Right.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Bryce Abernathy.
Hold
Housing
on
and-
one second, Bryce, and let everybody clear out so they can hear you. Huh.
Nobody wants to stay for my stuff?
Sorry, Bryce, no.
We're going to stay for you.
This is all you got right here.
They don't have a time for you.
All right, well, good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Bryce Abernathy, Housing and Neighborhoods Code Enforcement. I really only have one nuisance abatement for you today. It's 1227 Falls Church Road. This house was vacated, and it looked like they kind of took everything that was inside and threw it out in the yard and in the carport. We reached out to the owner on 4 different occasions in addition to our regular correspondence that we send out, and there was never a response from the owner.
All right. Do we have questions or a motion on this item?
Is this our first time abating the nuisance here?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, but I think we have to open and close the hearing, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right, we will open the hearing, and I have no one signed up for support or opposition, so I will close the hearing.
Move for approval.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay, and that passes. Thank you.
The second item I'm bringing today is regarding 605 Bragg Street. Just a refresher, council did adopt a demolition ordinance on October 15th of 2024. The property has since been demolished, and this is the lien confirmation that comes from that work that the city did at the property to demolish it. The total cost was $13,965. So with all the nuisance abatements that we've done, I don't have the exact interest payment, but it's roughly $25,000.
Were we going to hear from the attorney's office on what options we have when there's like these ongoing problematic properties? Wasn't that a thing?
I believe there was a memo that was being put together from the attorney's office, but they may be able to speak on that.
I believe we presented that, but I'll follow up. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I will open the hearing on 605 Bragg Street. I have no one signed up for support or opposition, so I will close the hearing.
Move for approval.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay, and that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have petition annexation AX 3224, which is ETJ 9404 Carlswood Court in District E.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. My name is Christopher Golden with Planning and Development. We've got the first of several annexations before you today. So this is this is at 9404 Carlswood Court. It's a small parcel, just under an acre. It's a pre-existing single-family home. It is requesting to hook up to water and sewer. It's located in an unincorporated county island, zoned R4. They want to hook up to water and sewer. The water and sewer is located along Carlswood Court, and I'll just go through the presentation just a little bit here. You can see the site location here, and on iMaps you can see that the home is there. It's been there for several years. It's in an area of single-family homes. And you can see on the site location zoom out, you can see where this is located, upwards of towards 540 off of the Strickland Road area. Here we have a zoom in of the utility location. So there is water and sewer nearby in Carlswood. And you can see the current zoning there, R4. The entire area is R4. Future land use is low-density residential. It's already constructed, so it conforms to that. Site plan and topography, there's no flood plain nearby. There's a street view of the home, a pretty typical single-family neighborhood in North Raleigh. Another street view there, and another one there. So they're looking to hook up to water and sewer. They do have a service consideration as being just outside of that National Fire Protection Association response time zones for a full fire response. If you choose to annex this property into the city today, it will be brought into the boundaries of District E. And if you have any questions, more than happy to answer them for you today.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, I will open the hearing for 9404 Carlswood Court, and I will close the hearing.
I'd like to move to, or motion to approve this annexation for Carlswood Court and bring it into District E.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, aye. All in opposed, nay. Right, and that passes. Thank you.
All right, so second annexation, second one out of three today, is contiguous annexation. It's inside the city's ETJ. It's a bit larger. This property is just over 13 acres. The zoning is industrial mixed use 3. It's with an urban watershed protection overlay district in the Neuse Richland Creek area. So the land use on this one and the current use is a pre-existing church. It's been there for quite a few years. The site is currently connected to Raleigh water. There is water along Durant Road that goes right into the site. So the property owners are looking now to extend to sewer lines in those subdivisions just to the south. This is also located in an unincorporated county island, meaning that this parcel is in an area that's completely surrounded by city limits. It is also an area with a service consideration with that NFPA response time for a full fire response. You can see here on our IMAPS version of this location, you can see it, the site singled out here. You can see the church on the property. It takes up a small portion of that property. You have the aerial. You can see the building and the parking lot and where it sits in relation to those single-family homes. Most of the site is undeveloped. So a site location zoom out, you can see that's actually north of 540 in North Raleigh. The closest it's in between Green Hills County Park and the Durant Nature Preserve. Utility location, you can see water there right outside the property, which this property is connected to, and you've got a sewer to the south in those subdivisions. You can see here the boundaries of this watershed. And you can also see the zoning there, which is industrial mixed use 3. The future land use for this area is community mixed use, so it conforms to that. Current use is a church. You can see the site topography and floodplain. There are no flood areas identified, and you can see a view of the site here. So that pretty much covers it. If you have any questions, more than happy to answer them for you. If you do annex this property, it'll come into the boundaries of Council District B. Yes.
I'm just looking through the 10-year fiscal analysis, and I know that that's just a piece of the puzzle. I totally understand that. But in 10 years, it's a negative $538,000. How do we justify that? That's a big expense.
Yeah, that's with this. This is a church. It is a nonprofit, so we're not collecting the same level of taxes. We're not taxing this property,
right. Okay.
essentially. So,
all right, thank you.
Sure.
Well, I mean, as a follow-up on that, so if we just don't annex it, they continue to exist as a church, is there some restriction on them just remaining on their current?
Well, I mean, you could feasibly approve this you could approve the connection to the water line without actually approving the annexation. That is an option. Does that answer your question?
Well, I don't know. What's the
Okay.
fiscal impact on that? It's just hard to say that the taxpayers should pay $500,000 to take in something, it's like, again, it just kind of goes to her question, and I'm not sure under what obligation do we have to take a $500,000 hit.
Yeah, I totally get you on that, and on that, I mean, this is not specific to just this site. It is any other nonprofit site, church throughout Raleigh falls under the same consideration, anywhere within Wake County and beyond, so.
And I'm wondering if maybe in this particular case, this is really like an on-paper deficit only. I mean, based on where it's located, like if this building caught on fire, it's going to be our firefighters who respond. If there's crime there, it's going to be our police officers who respond.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, they would be paying double, would they pay double rates?
Currently, they pay double rates. If they're brought into the city, they would pay standard
They would
city
pay
connection.
standard rates. So
yeah,
so their water and sewer rates would be impacted, but otherwise, I think we're probably getting a city level of service, whether we annex them or not.
Yeah, they're in a smaller unincorporated pocket. We are going to be the first responders in this case. I can't speak specifically to it, but logically, we would be the first responders on pretty much everything on this parcel.
Okay. We have a couple folks here to speak, Ryan Baylock and Donnie Williams. Yeah.
Council members, my name is Ryan Baylock. I represent Devoted City Church, and I was the one that helped submit this application for the annexation. And I'm just here to voice my support for it. We're looking for two primary reasons that have kind of been mentioned. One of ours is the safety issue. We had an incident a couple of years ago, and Donnie can speak more to it, where the fire alarms were tripped, and the fire response, even though there is a fire station just down the road on Falls of Noose, they did have to come all the way from Wake Forest, and it was quite a long response time. So one of our primary concerns is just the safety of our congregation if there were to be a fire, and just making sure that the emergency response services are are going to be able to respond in an adequate amount of time. And then the other motivation, as mentioned, is that as we continue to grow our congregation, we would like to be able to connect to city sewer. We're already on water, but we do have septic. So whether we plan to expand the existing building or build on the existing land that we do have, getting off of septic and moving to sewer would be a prerequisite for any kind of future expansion, and that would be a little bit down the road. And I'm, like I said, primarily here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Anybody? Did you want to speak?
Hi, thank you. My name is Donnie Williams. I'm the lead pastor at Devoted City Church. Been there for 20 years. We've been on this site since 2013. We purchased it in 2011. Thank you, Megan, for responding to my email so quickly a few months ago. I do appreciate that. Our name is Devoted City Church, and it indicates we care about our city. Like all of you, there are thousands of people that move into our city every year, and we serve them. The ones that move into our area, we serve them through helping them get connected in relationships. We serve them in a lot of different ways, any spiritual needs that they have. And we also serve them through being a local congregation of a Christian church. And so through all of the things that we do to care about our city, we're requesting to be annexed into the city because all around us, everything else is. We're concerned about safety. It does allow us future expansion opportunities if we are annexed into the city that don't exist because we're currently on a septic system. And so we would appreciate that consideration and positive vote on allowing us annexation. Any questions?
Questions for either of these gentlemen? The Reverend? Okay, so we will go ahead. We have no one in opposition, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And do we have a motion or further discussion?
Yeah, I would move to adopt the annexation effective immediately.
Okay. I'll second. All right, all in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks. All right, next we have petition annexation, 6325 Rock Quarry Road.
Thank you. This is the third and final annexation on the agenda today at AX 0625. This is a 9.35 acre parcel. It's currently an undeveloped site. It is zoned commercial mixed use for conditional use. There is a proposed use for self-storage on this. There are current active site reviews on this and subdivision plans in review. There is city and water adjacent to this property. It is in an unincorporated county island surrounded. It's in part of a larger area that's surrounded by city limits. I think I mentioned sewer and water are adjacent to this. It is with the service consideration, just being outside of the standard NFPA standard response time for a full fire response. You can see here the site location. There it is. It's part of a larger development where there were there's a neighborhood just to the north that was part of this larger parcelation. So you can see that neighborhood being built there at the intersection of Whitfield and Rock Quarry Road. You can see that on the site location zoom out, you can get a better idea of where that's at. So that is north of the Garner in the city limits in the southeast portion of the city, right off of Rock Quarry, not too far from Battle Bridge Road. You can see the utility locations there just to the northeast of the site. You can see that there's water and sewer directly to the adjacent to the parcel. You can see the current zoning in this area, commercial for conditional use, and you can see the future land use map is for community mixed use for this particular parcel. Site plan and topography, there is a lake nearby, but it is not considered in a floodplain. You can see a view of the site undeveloped there on Rock Quarry. Let's see, and then there's some of the standard response times for the RFD service review. If this property is annexed today, it will be brought into the boundaries of Council District C. If you have any questions, more than happy to answer them.
I have some questions.
Yep.
In the background, it mentions partial not included in annexation petition. Can you explain that?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So there is a small area here, and I exited out of it by accident. My apologies. So you should be able to see this there up on the screen. I'm going to maximize it. There is a little tiny area here. You can see my cursor going over it. So that area is, it's a tiny, tiny, narrow little area that is actually owned by the property owner just to the east. So it is not included in the annexation. That property owner has not done any type of a recombination. That little area ended up not in city limits. So in order for that little portion to come into city limits, that property owner would actually have to petition the city to annex. It's undeveloped, it's a small strip of land. It is allowable, there's no conflict there, but we just wanted to make sure that that was called out so that it was visible, and that when we send this to the state, if it is approved, that they're aware of that with the meets and bounds description.
Okay. And also you mentioned, I see you say use purpose is self-storage. That's a whole lot of land for self-storage. And I guess you said it's going to be subdivided. Is there a way you can explain how it's going to be subdivided?
I don't have the information for you today. It's not, there's a subdivision plan on this. How that subdivision is going to break up, I'm not 100% sure on. Okay. So I cannot speak to that.
Is the applicant here?
So if the applicant is here, they could speak to it, possibly.
Okay.
Didn't see them, but.
All right, I'll let you open the hearing.
Okay, well, no one has signed up to speak.
No one signed up to speak?
No.
I probably want to hold this one then for 2 weeks.
Okay.
To have a chance to speak with the applicant, get a better understanding, because that's a lot of land for self-storage.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
we can reach out to the applicant. We can reschedule that for the next, so we're looking at then at the very next council meeting for that. We can present that.
If we can,
Okay.
we can bring it back during the day if the council's okay.
So I don't need to even
with that.
open the hearing then.
I would go ahead and open it because it was advertised.
Yeah.
So open the hearing, close the hearing. Well, open the hearing.
Open it and leave it open.
And leave it open.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to open the hearing for 6325 Quarry Road. And then, do we have a motion to continue?
Yeah, motion to keep annexation AS 0425 open for 2 weeks, bring it back during the day at our June 3rd meeting for consideration.
Second.
It's 0625.
06.
Sorry, 06. I was looking at yours.
Okay, second. All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, so that will remain open.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have rezoning Z 1924 Edinburgh Road, and we have Hannah Reckow here to present.
Good afternoon, Hannah Reckow, Planning and Development. So this is rezoning request Z 1924. It's 3 parcels on Edinburgh Road. Together they are just over 3/4 of an acre in size, currently zoned R6. The request is for office mixed use, 3 stories, conditional use. So the location of the site, this is right at the corner of Edinburgh and Glenwood Avenue. To the east and north is the Carolina Country Club, a handful of office and commercial uses on either side of Glenwood, and then generally a residential area. I have a zoom in of the site just to point out that 2 of the 3 parcels have significant frontage also on Glenwood Avenue. Proposed zoning conditions, there are a number of them. I'll walk through them now. The first one restricts land uses to only single unit living, office, and parking facility. So any other residential or commercial land use normally allowed in OX would not be permitted in the requested district. There are restrictions that the office use would be only on 105 Edinburgh parcel as part of a model home. There's specifications about the parking facility that would support that office use located at the 107 Edinburgh Road parcel, which is the middle one, limited to 8 spaces, and then there's specifications about how that area would be lit. There's 2 conditions requiring some buffering on either side of that parcel that would be used for parking, 107 Edinburgh, and then hours of operation for the office use are outlined in condition 6. Outdoor signage would not be permitted for the model home or office use. There are also restrictions to the size of that office use, no more than 35% of the gross floor area or no more than 2,600 square feet, whichever is greater. There's also a condition that would restrict the office use as a temporary use, so it could operate for no longer than 10 years. And then there's a condition restricting height, so that along Edinburgh Road, that structure would be no more than 2 stories. There is a condition for what happens after that office use is no longer being used. It would require a single unit land use there. There's restrictions to the size of that structure at 105 Edinburgh Road. And then there's a condition requiring the applicant to petition the city for a new speed limit sign to be located in front of the property. Another condition clarifying that only single unit living would be permitted on 109 Edinburgh Road parcel. And then zoning conditions pertaining to subcontractor meetings, resurfacing of Edinburgh Road in front of the property, where in the model home at 105 Edinburgh Road the office space could be located, and then the last condition requiring pervious driveways and sidewalks. So the end result of that list of conditions, we're going from a residential district to a mixed-use district. However, it is pretty tightly conditioned. It's actually a decrease in the total number of possible units on the site. And then the addition of a limited amount of office use. So this request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, including the future land use map designation, which is low-scale residential for this area. It is inconsistent with the urban form map. Glenwood Avenue is an urban thoroughfare. The site's also located within a city growth center. Those are designations that want to see more of a hybrid or urban orientation, as well as that is support for just more entitlement in general. Consistent policies here, in addition to the future land use map, touching on reinforcing the urban pattern, management of potential commercial development impacts, and the scale of the housing that would be allowed. Inconsistent policies, these are really touching on kind of the same themes as the urban form map, decrease in the total number of housing units, and decrease in housing variety on the site. The Planning Commission recommended approval in a split vote, 4-3. Some notes on the reasons given for opposition included inconsistent policies and vision themes highlighted in the staff report, a concern about the precedent for a model home being built in existing neighborhoods, and then some questioning about the need for the rezoning for a few of the parcels that could be built as a single unit living currently. So that's the staff presentation. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Questions? All right. We will open the hearing, and we have Charles Walker signed up in support. We don't have anybody signed up in opposition, although I know you guys are here. You sign up through the clerk's office on the Friday before the meeting, but I'll, as mayoral discretion, let you, come up if we need to go there. But right now, so we'll start with Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I realize it probably sounds like a whole lot of minutia as far as zoning conditions go. What we tried to do was answer as many concerns as we could as it came to this case. The reason for this case is because We call it a twerk. Some people call it a mistake or something like that. City of Raleigh's code doesn't allow model homes in subdivisions that are less than 5 acres. And so if you don't have a subdivision where you're building multiple houses, by code, you're not allowed by right to build a model home. This is especially hard on custom builders who tend not to build multiple houses in a single subdivision. So what we're doing here is we're allowing a custom builder to build a house, and then in a small percentage of one of the 3 houses is to have what is called a design center, where you pick your cabinets, your paint colors, your sidings, schedules walkthroughs, things like that. So this is the one place that the builder has been able to bring more than one lot together, so they saw this as an opportunity. We met with the neighbors several times. We've talked a lot, sent a lot of emails back and forth. So I think what we've done here is we have tried to fit this within the neighborhood. As many of you know, that the house on 105 is currently under construction, which again reinforces the fact is that this was not going to be an office building. This was an office use within a single-family home. So what we have here, we have that on 105. Edinburgh Road is a very narrow street. It's a ribbon pavement for most of its length. We did not want any extra traffic that was brought in because of this possible use to start shutting down Edinburgh with traffic and parking along the street. So we took the middle lot and we designated that as having a parking area with pervious concrete, or with pervious pavement, I should say, that would be in use only while the design center is in effect. After the design center is gone, those parking spaces would be removed and a house would take its place. So ultimately, we would have 3 houses on 3 single-family lots. As Hannah said, these lots are currently zoned R6 and will allow up to 8 townhomes. From my discussions with the neighbors, they're pretty clear that they don't want 8 townhomes at their front door. So again, one of the conditions of this case is to remove that possibility. And ultimately, we will end up over time with 3 houses on 3 existing single-family lots. We've spoken and we've set aside specific times and dates for this to be open. We're not doing outdoor signage of any way, shape, or form. No banners, no ground signs, no signs painted on the side of the building. Unless you're brought there for a particular reason, that will not look like anything other than a brand-new single-family house. 109 is also part of this case. We've had some neighbors that asked why 109 was part of the process. We included it in the process, even though it's not having any kind of differential put on it, other than to make sure that we take out the possibility of townhomes on 109. So we have taken that off all 3 lots. There was concern of possible stormwater issues. We had it looked at. Those 3 lots only represent about 4.5% of the watershed in that area. So what we could do is, the best we could do was to provide and offer pervious pavement on these projects and try to minimize what would happen or what could happen in the future. The Planning Commission vote, if I remember correctly, there was a new commission member, I believe, that was there for the first time. So I believe the vote was actually 4-2-1. But I just wanted to clarify that as far as that goes. We have offered to, we know there's parts of Edinburgh that are rough as far as the asphalt goes. We have offered a section of, I think it's up to 2,000 square feet of repair on Edinburgh Road where those places are going. We were asked for another speed limit sign because apparently speed is a concern in that area. We've had some members that asked that they thought that was just redundant, but since we offered it at the neighborhood meeting, if the council wishes us to keep it, we'll keep it. If they want us to remove it, we will absolutely remove it. I think for the most part, that's kind of where we are. I feel like we've given, they've given. I know speaking with Councilor Jones, she had mentioned that there were still some people that were concerned with the amount of time that we're asking for. I have been able to go to my client, and they have They have said that if this case is to move forward, they would offer to change the timeframe from 10 years to 8 years, no more than 8 years.
Okay.
And Hannah did a good job. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Great.
Hi, thank you so much. I do want to say that I do appreciate, I was at that first meeting over at Oberlin Road, so I appreciate you being there and being responsive. Having that conversation with you just a little while ago about the time limit, for me, and I'm not speaking for anyone else on council, I just hesitate at pulling out housing stock in a time when we need housing here, even if it is a single family house for even 8 years. I feel that's a little long, but I do appreciate you reaching back out to the builders and asking that time. I do want to ask, do you have an office up on Glenwood Avenue, or not you specifically, but the builder does have an office up on Glenwood Avenue a little further up, right?
I believe they have an administrative office, yes.
Right. So for me, I'm just hesitant to see the community benefits of putting a design studio when you have an office right up the street. So for me, those are my hesitations with it. But thank you for the clarification.
Hi.
Hi.
Curious about the business model, as much as you can speak to it on behalf of your clients.
Yes.
The model homes, when they're in subdivisions, there's homes the land is owned and there's homes going up all around them.
Mm-hmm.
Does your client own all the land where they're going to be
All
building
three lots,
these homes?
they are the current owners of all three
Oh,
lots.
I'm sorry, not the model home is going to be for people to come and pick fixtures and finishes for new homes that will be constructed elsewhere in the city?
Yes.
And are the places where those new homes will be constructed, are they owned? Do they exist? Is there some subdivision?
Is there a subdivision that Copper Builders is building in? Is that what you're asking?
The people who come and shop for the finishes that will come to this model home, is there some collection of land where all the homes are going to be built?
No. No, they are, like most custom builders, 2 lots here, 3 lots here, a lot over here. That's the business model. This is a business model they have used in Charlotte a couple of times, and it's the same situation. If you look at the building, it's a house, and there's a section of it that has that ability to have the colors and the cabinets brought down to it, and it is not as conditioned as much as this one is, given where it is. So the list of conditions we have here, we're trying to answer concerns that the neighbors had through the process.
And do you know the price point of the homes that will be built by the builders?
In this particular area, it's 1.5, 1.6, somewhere in that area. They typically build above $1 million just as a corporate brand.
This is just a technical question for staff. So if he's changed the condition from 10 years to 8 after the public hearing was announced,
Hold it.
you have to hold it? Okay.
Would it be allowed? Would that be considered? There's a thing where you have to get more restrictive. I'm looking at staff if it'd be allowed.
That is more restrictive.
Only do 8.
So now that the hearing has been opened today, the applicant can revise, and the request just needs to be made more restrictive. And I would not offer a legal opinion to you from the podium, but as a layperson, it would seem to me that 8 years allowed for commercial use is more restrictive than 10 years allowed for a commercial use.
We know what the city manager thinks of lay people offering legal opinions.
That's why I'm hiding behind the podium.
That's right. Okay, so, and then the other question I have is for the clerk, since the neighbor, we don't have anyone signed up in opposition because they did not understand the process. Is it my discretion to allow them 8 minutes, or is that?
You can ask them a question and let them answer it within 8 minutes.
Okay.
Or Mayor, in the alternative, you could hold it open.
Yeah, just hold it open, and then in 2 weeks, when we reconsider this with the 8-year, okay.
Yes.
timeframe.
They can sign up.
They'll
yeah.
be able to sign up.
Okay, then you could sign up, and I would just suggest that y'all speak with the clerk's office and just make sure you understand that process for the 2 weeks, because this will be continued.
If there's, I would ask if there's any other concerns or items that the council would want me to take a look at. I'll be glad to take that, the 2 weeks to do that.
I have a staff question. I think Councilmember
Yep.
Branch did too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a question for the residents that are here. My question is, other than the use of a model, of this being a model home, is there another issue? Could you come and speak to me what your other issue is?
And if you can just state your name and address when you address us, thank you.
My name is Shepherd Fountain. I live immediately adjacent to the property that we are discussing. Get to my little thing. Our primary concern is commercial creep. We are an established neighborhood. I've lived in my house for 38 years, and there are other people across the street, 35, 51 behind him. We are an established residential neighborhood, and we are concerned about those other two lots in terms, particularly 109, with regards to we don't see a need for it to be rezoned because if it is going to be a single-family dwelling, we have issues regarding the hours. The stipulations that were just spoken of to y'all were things that the builders put in. They are not what we have agreed to. We agreed to, the only stipulation I heard that we agreed to was having the impervious surface for the actual parking lot. Those are, the speed limit's been 25. You can't make it less than that. All of those things are things that Copper Builders initiated in my opinion, in a means to act as if they were negotiating with us. We had 43 neighbors that disagreed at both. There was not one person at any of our meetings that in any way was interested in the negotiations because they weren't willing to negotiate. We would like a green buffer between the residential.
I'm sorry to interrupt. The city manager is directing us that we're veering into problematic territory because of the public hearing requirement.
And I think it kind of contradicts exactly what the mayor just did. That was the purpose of holding the meeting open, holding the hearing open so that there could be a full discussion in 2 weeks rather than violating the,
Yeah, I thought it was just one specific thing, not the whole part, but we'll follow up because you have a lot I see you want to say.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I do have a staff question.
Yes.
2 questions for our staff. No more public hearing stuff. I don't want to aggravate Madam City Attorney. My questions for staff are, most of the inconsistent policies, did I understand correctly, they're flagging inconsistent because if there's going to be a change in use here, our planning documents call for actually a much higher density than a single-family home?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I think that's important context to understand that the reason these policies are flagging inconsistent is our policies actually say we want much more density here, and so getting them to downzone these parcels and prohibit townhomes, that's actually taking away opportunities for housing stock. And then the second question I have is, I heard the concern about retail. I mean, they're not going to be able to sell like pizzas out of these. If they can't build like a Domino's here, right? Because they've restricted it to by appointment only showing a house.
Correct. Office use located in a particular part of one structure for 10 years.
But could they sell it and say, well, we don't have a need for it now, and you can run any office you want out of here for 10 years, 8 years, if that's what they condition it down to? Is there a way to tighten, and basically what I'm trying to say, is there a way to tighten the conditions to where it's very clear that this is only going to be used to show a model home by appointment to folks who want to like look at wall colorings and cabinets and not, we sold this to Domino's Pizza and now they can run an office out of it for 8 years, if that's even their business model?
It does reference model home. Model home is not a land use category in the UDO.
It's not. So one thing that I may want to see for purposes of giving direction is if we are going to go this route, if there's a way to tighten up the condition to make it clear that the only quote office use is going to be by appointment, letting people come in and potential, not an actual office, not changing the use in perpetuity where they could, any business can run on these sites.
Understood, yeah.
No divorce lawyers.
No divorce lawyers, because I don't want anyone else taking my business.
Better have some money, they talking about $1.5 million, you right?
Okay, all right, so we will.
Do you want me to motion?
Yeah, motion.
Just before we do this, I just want to make a couple of things very clear. In the design center, the conditions say where in the building it is. It has to be in the garage and in the front, the first floor facing Glenwood. So you have to have the house to figure out where you're going to put the design unit. And condition 14, a detached house used for single living shall only be built on 109 Edinburgh. It's already in the conditions. We can't do anything but build a house there. And 107 can only have a house build it once the design center is gone. And 105 is going to have a house on it with a design center in it. So that's ultimately where we're headed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the issue is you haven't conditioned out other possible OS uses.
Which is why when we were asked about why is 109 in the case was because 109 could have townhomes on it. So we included it in the case and held back the ability to do
So
townhomes.
just follow up with staff, and I think they can properly address the concern that we're stating.
Got it.
And I would say between this time, when it comes back, I think another touch point with residents as we talk about that possibility of lowering that time, and if that fits within the community benefits that they see. But as we talk about housing, and I know we brought up the point that we wanted more housing here, and that's where the inconsistencies lie. I still push back on that this will be a vacant house for 10 years. And so when we talk about using and having people live here, that for 10 years at least this is gone, that option, with the way it currently reads, or 8 if that's what we decide. So that's my hesitations on this, and we've spoken about that. But I look forward to speaking back out. And to the residents, thank you for being involved. I thought that, I'm so sorry that when we spoke, I thought we made it clear. I know I told you to show up, and here you are. But I clearly did not make that clear that there was a sign-up period. But now we have the opportunity for the next time when it comes back for you to sign up. I will make sure to clearly articulate that. So my apologies to you. But thank you so much for being here. And now I would motion to to hold this until June 3rd in the evening.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, so this will be continued till June 3rd. Yep.
A question for staff in our city attorney's office. Monday's a holiday, and I know we normally say 10 days. Does that mean new conditions have to be in by this Thursday, or is it Friday?
New unsigned conditions would have to be in by Friday. That's
Okay.
the code points to calendar days.
Okay.
Signed conditions are tied to business days.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. Okay, next, we've got rezoning Z4724, 2500 Barwell Road.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. Bynum Walter, Planning and Development. This is a request to rezone just under 45 acres at 2500 Barwell Road. So here's Barwell coming around at the corner of the property. So this is going from a combination of the residential 4 district and the manufactured housing district, which is shown in brown on the map, to R10, residential 10 with conditions. The request is consistent with the 2030 comprehensive plan and the future land use map. Planning Commission has a split vote here. And I can talk more about that when we get to the recommendations at the end of the presentation. I understand from the applicant, they would like to continue the public hearing to allow some additional conversation with Partners for Environmental Justice. Just want to forecast that now, that they are looking for additional public hearing time at a future meeting, either June 3rd or your discretion. So this is adjacent to, concurrent with the Walnut Creek Trail, shown here in green. Again, on the south side of the Pool Road Elementary School site, on the south side of Pool Road, runs along here. Oh gosh, runs along here and then bends down into Barwell. Here's the Neuse River. So there's a handful of conditions here. They've prohibited a good number of uses. They have prohibited the apartment building type. They have limited the number of residential units to 125. They have prohibited development north of Walnut Creek, which is roughly here. The current zoning boundary runs along the creek line. That condition does not prohibit greenway or utility north of the creek. And then they have provided some buffer or transition language here for townhouse building immediately abutting these lots outlined in red here. So saying that there would be a minimum side yard setback of 10 feet. And similarly, for the existing residential development along the southern boundary line of the tract, they're specifying a 30-foot rear yard setback. Then they have also provided for the dedication of at least 3 acres of tree conservation outside of or south of Walnut, outside of the no-build area, but south of Walnut Creek, and that anything qualifying as primary or secondary TCA could count towards that requirement. The TCA would be determined, defined at time of subdivision plan review. So the entitlement here is not changing significantly in terms of number of units, but because the residential 4 and manufactured housing would not allow townhouse, they're expanding the variety of type allowed here, although they have prohibited apartment building. This is consistent with the plan overall, consistent with the future land use map. Good number of consistent policies here. There is a response time standard consideration here. Planning Commission was conflicted here. So Commissioner Omakai expressed concerns about traffic and stormwater impacts, and she also expressed an interest in affordable housing on the site, which is not included as part of the request at this time. What questions could I answer for you before you open the public hearing?
Any questions?
One question, traffic is a concern and there's a curb there, but normally we require applicants to make road improvements on their property that abuts a road.
Mm-hmm.
This one seems like a very small slither that actually abuts, so would it only be that part that would be required?
I'm going to ask my colleague
Phone a friend.
Carter Robertson from Transportation to come up and answer that.
Good afternoon, Carter Robertson with Transportation. Yes, that's right, that small sliver on Barwell. What we're anticipating is Brandy Crest Drive over to the west to be continued out to Barwell. And so since there's a narrow sliver there, it's right on that curb. It's my understanding that the applicant's working with NCDOT and our real estate office here to purchase a sightline clearance easement so you can see past that curb.
Okay, that's very helpful. And my other question is, this one's actually for planning. As far as the creek, is that do we know if that's a blue creek or not?
Yes, sir, it's Walnut Creek.
Okay, so with that being said, that's what, 50 feet setback?
Yeah, and there's a good amount of floodplain here as well.
Okay, and our code doesn't allow floodplain. So my question is, we see 125 possible unit. That's what the computer printed out, but what's the real possible number?
That's what they're limiting themselves to, the actual buildable area of the site, though, so they've prohibited construction, everything north of that line.
Right.
And then also the floodplain and the buffer. So the actual buildable site, I think, comes down, the applicant probably knows better than I do, I feel like it comes down to like maybe 12 acres.
Okay.
It's not a huge buildable area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I will open the hearing for Barwell Road, and we have 3 folks signed up to speak in support, and I see Worth Mills coming down. The other folks are Peter Nosson and Howard Moy.
Yep. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. Worth Mills here on behalf of Marlowe and Moy LLC, the rezoning applicant. Howard Moy and Peter Knosson are not in attendance tonight, so it'll just be me. Bynum was correct at the outset of her presentation. We would like to request a deferral to the June 3rd meeting to continue working with PEJ, Partners for Environmental Justice, to add new zoning conditions to mitigate any impacts to Walnut Creek. So I did just want to go to this slide here showing the Walnut Creek floodway and floodplain. Based on the existing floodway, the existing floodplain, and the future 100-year floodplain conditions, we're measuring just under about 13 acres, estimated as buildable area under the UDO's, or under the city's development regulations, concerning floodplain and the prohibition within those areas. The 125 unit count is assuming a townhome development. There is still questions internally with the applicant as to whether this site is most appropriate for single family or townhomes. Obviously, if it's a single family product, that ultimate development number would be much lower. And then just again, going through the conditions, we have prohibited development north of Walnut Creek. Most of that area is encumbered with 100-year floodplain, but that remains, or that is planned to remain as is today. Condition 5 and 6 speak to the side yard and rear yard setbacks that would be required for those adjacent single-family homes. Those are the same side yard and rear yard setbacks that a single-family detached home would be required to maintain in the existing R4 district. And then condition 7, again, speaks to the requirement to dedicate at least 3 acres of TCA south of Walnut Creek. With the prohibition of development north of Walnut Creek, I would expect a significant amount of tree canopy to remain even after this site is developed. And here you can get a sense of which properties those side yard and rear yard setbacks apply to. Again, we do anticipate the extension of Brandy Crest Drive. That would be required pursuant to Section 8 of the UDO. We anticipate Brandy Crest then intersecting with Barwell Road. And actually on your consent agenda, this is a estimated drawing, certainly not exact, but 2300 Barwell Road to our east, that is the City of Raleigh lift station, water station. That item was on your agenda for the consent to grant that site distance easement, and we are just now working with real estate, water, public utilities, and the city attorney's office to finalize that easement document so that it can be recorded in the near future. But again, we're requesting a deferral to June 3rd to continue conversations with PEJ, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have this afternoon.
Thank you. Do you have questions?
Do you believe you'll have conditions ready by Friday?
I do. I do think we'll have conditions ready by Friday.
Okay. because I know our June 3rd agenda is getting linked, and I was wondering if you would be amenable to the June 17th date during the daytime, which is the only time we meet.
I know that time is important on this case. My initial thought is to set it for June 3rd. I know it's my responsibility to get those conditions in and get everything finalized. But I feel like we're making pretty good progress with PEJ. So I think we're close to having a new set ready for staff to review.
Okay.
And if afternoon, evening, whatever works best for council is okay with us.
Say afternoon, that's the same day as the budget and the MSDs and some other ones.
Okay.
It'll just be a long day, that's okay.
Any other questions?
Nope. So we have a motion, do you have a motion to
Yeah,
continue?
I move that we continue this case open and hold it until June 3rd.
Second.
And bring it back during the day.
Second. Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Can I make
Do we
one
have-
comment?
Yeah, we have 5 of us, yeah.
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 Just one comment on this. If transportation can also follow up, I know we're doing the easement piece, but while they're doing road widening, we know we need some improvements in that area, and maybe there's some CIP around.
Okay. All right, final item is rezoning Z5424 Lewisburg Road, Hanoreca.
Yes.
So 2 more.
Z5424, this is a request to rezone one parcel, 5420 Lewisburg Road. It's a little over 3.5 acres in size, currently zoned R1. They're requesting R10 conditional use. So this is on the southeast side of Lewisburg Road. Handful of civic uses. The rest is generally residential. You can see the site is undeveloped, forested, would gain access through this stub there. Cannot see it, but there is a parcel right here. So this property is addressed on Lewisburg Road, but does not have direct access to it. There's one proposed zoning condition. It would restrict some residential and civic land uses and commercial uses that are normally allowed in R10. You can see that list here. The picture here is still a residential district, but one that would allow much smaller minimum lots, setbacks, and a greater variety of building types, and as a result, a much higher number of residential units that could locate on the site. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, consistent with the future land use map designation, which is moderate scale residential, and there's no urban form map guidance for the site. And here are the consistent policies for this request. And there were no inconsistent policies identified for this request. Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval. What questions can I answer?
Yep, questions?
Hi. You may need to phone a friend. I'm curious about this parcel's landlocked. Like you said, it's addressed on Lewisburg, but doesn't front on Lewisburg or on Kyle Drive on the other side. So the grid's not great there. What would be required in the way of stubbing in either direction to create a future grid connection?
Sure, yeah. Carter Robertson can address that.
Hello again, Carter Robertson with Transportation. So yes, this block is well over our standards. I think it's about 2 miles in perimeter. Unfortunately, we do have some restrictions that prevent us from requiring any stubs at site plan. That doesn't mean we don't recommend making stubs to improve the network here, but if we're looking at Lewisburg in particular, if you remember, Hannah said there's another site in between this site and Lewisburg Road. We have a provision in the UDO that marks out an exemption if a stub would if the resulting road connection would consume more than 15% of a adjacent property. And since that property is really small, that would apply. Also, it wouldn't add much to reducing the block perimeter if we're just making that connection. We have a similar issue if we're looking towards stubbing over here to Kyle Drive as well, affecting this parcel. That being said, while we can't require it at site plan, this is something that we would still be supportive of. Another thing to note is that if they were to pursue a stub to Lewisburg, they would have to get a driveway permit from NCDOT, and that would be subject to their approval. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, but gave me a follow-up. So you're, the line you drew toward Kyle Drive, are you saying the parcels that continue that are not subject to the rezoning, they would be subject to the same exemption? Or if they build this street stub and then the next parcel ever gets redeveloped, do they have to pick it up? Or, like, would we ever get to Kyle Drive is sort of the...
Right. So the exemption I listed is being exempt from held to block perimeter and dead length standards. I believe if we create a stub, that is separate to those exemptions that I listed.
Okay. So if they create the stub toward Kyle Drive and then the next parcel over ever redevelops, they have to pick it up and will eventually create the connection?
I believe so. I might have to look to confirm.
It looks like Bradley's coming down.
Sound right? Thank you, sir.
Carter's absolutely right. That would be applicable to that site upon submitting to the city, assuming that they also don't qualify for an exemption. But that would be an obligation otherwise, and staff would recommend it.
Okay. And it sounds like if they went toward Lewisburg Road, you have a good instinct that they would be exempt. But if they go the other way, does our gut tell us they'll be exempt or not? Do we have any way to predict that at this time?
I believe staff has not reviewed that parcel or that scenario in great detail, at which time that property would come in, staff would assist that applicant and apply the code at that time.
Okay, any other questions for staff? If not, I will open the hearing. And for 5420 Lewisburg Road, we have one person in support, Hayrala Al-Gharazi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor, members of council and staff. My name is Harala, and I'm here on behalf of Triangle Legal, on behalf of the property owners, Art Builders LLC and Construction Master LLCs, the property owners of this parcel. First, I want to thank you all, and I want to thank the city staff that they've been a big help to us. Thank you. And again, I did include this presentation, but there isn't that much to add beyond what was already discussed by the city staff. If I just change slides, it'll probably show the same information. So yeah, it just shows the current zoning of the parcel and the nearby parcel, and that it is designated for moderate scale residential, which this R10 conditional use does fall under. And I also included just a screenshot of the conditions, which, as you know, the applicant, he's committed to building, or they are committed to building residential properties, but they're still discussing with engineers regarding how many, single-family homes or townhomes or just what kind of residential building they can build, and the layout and quantity of those units. So yeah, this is just a summary. It is about 3.65 acres. It's consistent with the future land use map, consistent with the comprehensive plan, and reasonable in the public interest. I will add, we didn't include this as a condition, but I do recall hearing about the stub street. They are interested, and they don't have that adjacent property, but if they do intend on having a stub street to go to Kyle Drive, if there is future development that way, I don't know if that needs to be added as a condition or is that something that's worked on later with staff, but they're happy to add that. They don't have that property at this time, and that's what they've done, or what they there's currently a stub street off of Rezoning. I could go back. Actually, I don't know how to go back. Let me see. So there's currently a stub street here. I don't know if you can see that. And so what they plan on doing is having a stub street here, so that there is future development. It would connect to Kyle Drive. They can add that as a condition, or I don't know if this is like discussed later with planning. But other than that, thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions?
So I think for my comfort, I represent this area, would like to see that as a condition, or it would at least like further conversation with our transportation staff on whether that they believe that other parcel would not be exempt, and that's a good connection to make for future development. And so in order to add that type of condition, we need to hold your case open. And I would recommend June 17th, because our next meeting, June 3rd, is very full. But so that's where I land, but open to discussion from others.
Yeah, I mean, does that timing work for you?
I mean, if there's a way to add the more restrictive condition now, we'd be happy with it now. But if need be, of course, we're happy to wait.
Yeah, I mean, if it's more restrictive, do you want to go ahead?
I don't think it's allowed. I don't think we can just like
Okay.
take it at the table and
Okay.
add it in. We have to go through the rigmarole.
I was just wondering if it's something is that a condition? Is that something that can be conditioned? The sub-street? That's a staff question. Because we've never conditioned a stub street. That's usually done around site plan.
And that's what we wondered.
I mean, if it can be a condition added, then so be it, but.
Hi, Margaret Tartalla, Transportation. So it would be something that to add as a condition, I would want to have some time to review and confer with some of our other colleagues at the city. I think there might be issues obligating a parcel that they don't. I think the issue might come in where you're building a stub and you're saying this other piece of land is really what we want, where we want the connection to be. We can work with the applicant at site plan to set it up for that if in the future, whoever owns that parcel when it develops, they could make the connection to Kyle Drive. The impacts of trying to add a condition obligating that connection to this case, I would want to review.
I guess I'm not trying to say that the other parcel needs to, I'm not trying to tell them what the other parcel needs to do, but making sure the street goes in, because it sounded, in previous communications, it sounded like there was not going to be any block perimeter requirements that would like require this stub to get put in at the site plan, that absent a condition, they could just kind of build a cul-de-sac if they wanted to.
Right, but that's based on the property that it's stubbing to, because it's stubbing to a residential-only property. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'd want some time to review it.
I mean, I know I just hate to put somebody on delay for a whole month when we're not even sure this is actually even possible. So, I mean, I don't know, with good intent, I would be willing to approve it, but.
But it's not them, right? The exemption isn't based on their property.
It's not an obligation on the other. It's essentially based off a staff evaluation of the applicant property. We believe that there's an exemption possible, and it sounds as though the applicant is offering to waive their exemption, at which point during site plan review, they would work with staff to apply the code and find the viable connectivity. It sounds like everyone here is in agreement that connectivity and creating the opportunity for future connectivity is of value. Is that fair?
Yes. So I can't speak, about everything, but I know that the applicant is interested in making future developments and heading towards Kyle Drive. They just can't because they don't own that parcel of land connecting.
So, and I guess going back to staff then, again, is it necessary to delay so that y'all can have further conversations, or that he could add this as a condition, or is this something that could be handled later where we could go ahead and approve this today? I just, again, know they've worked hard on this and been through a lot and gotten unanimous decisions, but I also appreciate Councilor Patton's desire.
If council chooses to include that with your vote, staff is supportive.
So we could just put it in our vote?
As part of the condition, all right?
And actually, one of the
procedure.
Oh.
Good afternoon. So if you approve the case today as offered, those are the conditions that they've already offered. The zoning regulations that are in place are what would be absolutely required. Staff certainly has heard your instruction. I believe the applicant has heard your instruction. I think that we can do work to try to achieve that connectivity goal, but without a condition, there's no guarantee what that will look like or that we can actually achieve it. So you can't really, you can't add instruction with your vote.
Okay, so we would need to hold it over so that that condition could be added, and it is a legitimate condition.
If you want it to be a legally binding condition, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Cool. You want to make a motion?
With all that.
Oh, well, I guess, okay, yeah, we're holding it open, so you're going to go ahead.
Yeah, so with all that said, move to hold the case open to June 17th.
Second. And we'll work with you on that. We appreciate your willingness to do it, and sorry that it causes some delay, but there we are. All right, so all in favor of the motion, aye. All opposed. All right, thank you so much.
Did you want to speak? Okay, well, that's one of the property owners.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, so we actually did have, yes, one more on the flip side of my page, text change TC 10 2024 Cottage Court Garages.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Justin Booker in Planning and Development. Today, this is an external text change, TC 1024 Cottage Court Garages. Just to provide you with some background and a timeline, this was filed last June in 24 by a member of the public. In November, it went before the Safe, Vibrant, and Healthy Community Committee. And then in that same November, it was authorized by council. This past March, it was discussed at the Text Change Committee. And then this April, it received a unanimous recommendation for approval by the Planning Commission. So in essence, what this text change seeks to do is change the way principal structures in cottage courts, the way they're regulated. Today, principal buildings in cottage court developments are limited in size by gross floor area. That is a defined UDO term. Included in that definition is attached garages. So TC 1024 seeks to change the way they're regulated by, instead of regulating gross floor area, or regulating conditioned space. And then it also sets an allowance for unconditioned space as well. So just to provide kind of a summary, you'll see on the screen here are existing regulations for principal buildings and cottage courts. There's a max dwelling size of 1,800 square feet of gross floor area. They are limited to a height of 30 feet and a detached accessory structure size of 450 square feet of footprint. And then as proposed, it would be transitioning from gross floor area to conditioned space. So you still have this 1,800 square foot conditioned space limitation, and then additionally a 500 square foot unconditioned space allowance, which could be shared either as attached to the principal building or as a detached accessory structure. So if you had a 400 square foot attached garage, then you'd have 100 square feet left for a detached accessory structure. Shown here is a map of cottage courts developments in the city of Raleigh. There are only a handful. Happy to take any questions. And the applicant is here if there are any questions for the applicant.
Questions? Okay. All right, we will go ahead and open up the hearing. We don't have anyone signed up in support or opposition, so I'll go ahead and close the hearing. Yes.
I move to adopt the proposed consistency statement dated May 20th, 2025, containing the agenda materials, and to approve the zoning text amendment.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so that passes. Thank you. All right, we now move on from the public hearing into different committee reports and economic development and innovation, no report. Growth and natural resources.
We have 3 pending items on tree removal, protection, and planting that we'll address next Tuesday, May 27th at 4 p.m.
Okay. And safe, vibrant, and healthy community.
We will meet May 27th at 11:30 here in the chamber.
Okay. And then we have transportation and transit.
We have one item pending. We'll meet this Thursday, the 22nd, from 3 to 5 here in the council chambers.
Okay. All right, next we have the report of the mayor and city council, and I will start with Mayor Pro Tem Ford.
Good afternoon. Had an opportunity to attend a couple of events since we last met. Actually made some notes I wouldn't forget. Excuse me. Is Miss Rainey still here?
Nope.
Okay. She had an event where she celebrated some sign installation over at College Park. It was a very well attended event. Had an opportunity to learn a lot about that particular community, which has been in existence for, I think, about 115 years in the city of Raleigh, and it was one of the first prominent Black communities in the city. So it was a fantastic event. Had several people from city council attend. Councilmember Lambert Milton, Councilmember Branch, Councilmember Silver, as well as Police Chief Rico Boyce did presentations, so it was a great event. Also had an opportunity to sit in with the delegation from Moldova, which learned a lot about a different country, and they wanted to have some conversations with the city of Raleigh and some other municipalities about basically how we run local government, which was a very interesting and unique opportunity to do an exchange with them. And they've had some questions about potentially starting a sister cities initiative with us as well, so I think they'll be reaching out. And then the mayor and I had an opportunity to attend the Habitat for Humanity Home Builders Blitz last week, which was phenomenal. And I think for the first time, they actually did a 4-bedroom home, which was very unique to see. And actually, a single mother with 5 children will be moving into that particular residence. And so it was great to have an opportunity to engage with her. So it was a fantastic event. So.
No report.
All right. In keeping with tradition, I have good things we did through the consent agenda. We awarded contracts for the Upper Pigeon House Branch Interceptor project to replace aging sewer systems. We awarded contract for asphalt rejuvenation, so we'll treat 21.7 center line miles. And this extends the life of the asphalt, but it also adds a chemical that better reflects light and mitigates heat island effects. And I asked staff for some equivalencies. And so in the 10-year plan for this work, it will, quote, photocatalyze enough CO2 to be roughly equivalent of taking 19,000 cars off the road. So I love that. We also awarded contracts for the South Park Heritage Walk, schematic design, and which will also include environmental assessments for the Dix Chavis 4th Ward Strollway, and awarded contracts for the News River Park surveying, design, and permitting. And then my only other update is that my office hours will be June 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. at a location TBD.
No report.
All right. Just a few things. My next District E community meeting will be held on June 11th at La Cocina Italian Restaurant from 6 to 8. So join us for an evening of civic conversation. Our Decoding Democracy Book Club will meet on Saturday, June 14th from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. at Oberlin Regional Library. We have finished our discussion on ethics and we'll be moving on to the Raleigh City Charter. If you're interested in being part of that discussion, sign up at christinaforraleigh.com and you will get access to our Google Drive with materials to help you prepare. Thank you, a big thank you to staff for the update in the manager's report last week that detailed the city's communication with the development industry in reference to our stormwater design manual in their 2024 update. I didn't realize how thorough our outreach had been to ensure that their feedback was incorporated. So again, thank you for that. And also, lastly, from that same manager's report, the Raleigh Tool Share program is now underway, and residents can borrow electric lawnmowers, weed eaters, and blowers through a centralized lending location. So really excited about that. Thank you for your work, staff, on making sure that we can provide those services to our residents. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Just a couple brief items. First of all, on behalf of the mayor, I presented a proclamation at the first World Taekwondo seminar this past Saturday at North Carolina State University. It was a great turnout, great event. They are also looking, had a small meeting with their members about their South Korea Chamber of Commerce and them looking to work within our community, and we'll be connecting with the Greater Raleigh Chamber as well as we move forward. We are upon that season of graduations, so to all the high school graduates of the class of 2025, congratulations. They actually kick off tonight. Wake STEM Early College is at 6 p.m. tonight, so I'm going to stop by that one. And I will be at different graduations of Wake County throughout this graduation year, so definitely to all the graduates, enjoy the time, have a good one, and just remember the work begins soon. And lastly, I will have a District C meeting tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. at Top Green Center. It'll be from 6:30 until 8:30. All are welcome to come out for me to hear from you, as well as to share things across the city and the council. And if anyone has any questions about the budget, you can bring those and I can get you answers at a later date because we just got it today.
All right, just 2 items. For anyone who missed it, we had a work session last week on the Sociable City Assessment, which covered quality of life for residents, visitors, and businesses on Fayetteville Street and Glenwood South. For anyone who's interested in that topic, please do attend or watch the Safe, Vibrant, and Healthy Communities Committee meeting next Tuesday. Again, that's May 27th at 11:30, and they are going to continue discussions specifically on the intersection of hospitality districts and residential neighborhoods. Nightlife, new development, and residential activities are often layered on top of each other in these neighborhoods, which requires us to identify new tools and policies for, I'd say, greater harmony among differing uses. So thank you all for covering that topic. And then secondly, I have received a request for assistance from a property owner of a triplex, and they're struggling to qualify for residential parking permits for residents in their unit. So I'm requesting that staff find a solution for these residents with triplexes at Ash and Park Avenue before we break for summer. I'd also like to ask staff to bring a comprehensive review of the residential parking permit program with options to accommodate some of this gentle density like quads or rooms for rent after the summer break. I think this is a topic that we haven't covered in full as a council recently, and I appreciate Mayor Cowell also asking for some of this information. I think some of the questions are, what was our policy before 2023 when we made some changes? What was the public process to get to that policy? What is our current policy? Which streets have residential parking permit requirements? And then what goals are we trying to achieve?
Okay, next we have appointments.
Good afternoon. Before I begin, I will note that Councilmember Silver's ballot is not reflected in the votes, the following results, as he's not present at today's meeting. First, Arts Commission, 1 regular vacancy. Councilmember Patton nominated Jill Heath, so this will be appearing on your next ballot. Centennial Authority, 2 regular vacancies. Jim Bailey, 0 votes. John Harden, 4. Latanta McCrimmon, 4. Tia McLaurin, 1. Antoine Terrell Midget, 4. So these will be carried over to your next ballot.
Wait a minute, you carrying all of them?
None of them received 5 votes.
Can I make a recommendation? I would move that just the 3 nominees who receive more than 1 vote move forward to the next ballot.
Second.
Yeah, so.
So that would be John Harden, LaTonta McCrimmon, and Antoine Terrell Midget.
Yes.
Who have each received 4 votes. All 3 of those would be carried over to your next ballot.
Do we need to take a formal vote, or are you willing to just take the?
If there's no opposition
Okay.
to that, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Next is Hispanic and Immigrant Affairs Board, 1 alternate vacancy, professional member category. Pedro Crumpusher received 7 votes, so would be appointed. Next, Parks, Recreation, and Greenway Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. As a reminder, correspondence received from the temporary ad hoc nominating committee following the publishing of today's agenda was shared with the council via email. Stephen McGinnis, who is Councilmember Lambert Milton's nominee, did receive 6 votes, so would be appointed. Next is Raleigh Historic Development Commission, 2 regular vacancies. Ian Dunn received 5 votes, so would be appointed. Reverend Jimmy Gibbs received 4 votes, and both Councilmember Patton and Mayor Cowell nominated John Schimmer. So both Reverend Gibbs and Mr. Schimmer will appear in your next ballot for the remaining vacancy.
I have a quick question. Can you remind me of the eligibility requirements? I know, and I love Ian Dunn, but he did term out a year ago, so I was just wondering, how does that work? I was a little bit confused.
You're saying Ian Dunn was a previous member that rolled off of RHDC specifically? I'd have to check. I don't.
I believe as long as they're off for at least a cycle, they can be reappointed.
And does that 6-year cycle start all over again? So it's like a brand new, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
there is
That's
a
all I wanted clarification. I think he's great on the board. I just remembered saying goodbye to him last year, and I didn't remember how that worked, so thank you.
There is a provision in the city code, and it's specifically, 2 years sounds about right, but I'd have to double check. So I can make sure, again, don't know off the top of my head, to make sure that he's been off the right amount of time. If for some reason he is not, I will just bring that back next time.
Cool. Thank you
Does that
so
work?
much. Thank you.
Next, nominations. Human Relations Commission, 2 regular vacancies. Term of Byron Laws is expiring. He is not eligible for reappointment due to length of service. Additionally, we've received resignation from regular member Kyle Compton. Past practice has been to elevate the 2 longest-serving alternates to regular members and declare alternate vacancies. That's Jakarma Allen and Helen Sporkin, both fairly recently appointed.
I would move to elevate Helen Sporkin. The other alternate hasn't attended any meetings yet. I would just hold that regular vacancy for the next, if someone wants to nominate that person, they can. But I would just move, for right now, I'd move to elevate Helen Sporkin.
All in favor of Helen Sporkin's elevation, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and then we'll hold the other.
To clarify, are we carrying over Miss Allen to the next ballot at all? Or I did receive feedback from staff that Miss Allen has attended an event in March, but has not attended, obviously, the monthly meetings or communicated on attendance. So what additional information would you like me to receive on that, if any?
I think we can put her on the ballot, and maybe the staff liaison can communicate to Ms. Allen that maybe there's confusion that she's not expected to attend since she's an alternate. Maybe she perceives she's not supposed to be there, so maybe staff can reaffirm that.
Okay.
See if they get a response.
Okay. And lastly, Substance Use Advisory Commission, 1 regular vacancy. Term of Hannah Tchaikovsky is expiring. She does not wish to be considered for reappointment per city code. She'll continue to serve until replaced, so that will show up on your next ballot.
I'd like to nominate Paul Killens.
Do you have a spelling on that last name?
Yes, Killins.
Oh,
And
just
he
like it sounds.
submitted an application just, I think, 2 days ago.
Perfect, thank you. That'll come back on your next ballot, and that's all.
Thank you. All right, next we have a report and recommendation of the city attorney.
Mayor, members of council, what you have in your packet is our proposed guidelines to hold hearings for the issuance of tax exempt private activity bonds under the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act. We often refer to that as TEFRA. The intent of the guidelines is to formalize the process for submitting hearing requests to the city. identify the types of matters that the council will consider, such as economic development, transportation, community development, or other initiatives outlined in the city's strategic plan, establish the required timing for such requests, and specify the provisions that must be included in any resolution presented for council's consideration. Those are in your packet, available for direction or action as the council so deems.
Thank you. Do you have questions for the city attorney or a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the report and recommendation of the city clerk.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. In your agenda materials, you had 3 sets of minutes, the May 6th regular session and the May 13th work session and public comment session.
Move for approval.
All in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. All opposed. I am pausing because I don't have the language. It's on my other phone for the closed session language. Does anybody have a copy of that? I All right. A motion is in order to enter closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the city attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege and to consider giving instructions regarding the handling and/or settlement of a potential claim in the following matters: Raleigh Country Club, LLC versus the City of Raleigh, George C. Vintners versus the City of Raleigh, and an appeal of administrative approval of development plans for 908 Williamson Drive. Second, General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear the investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against, excuse me, an individual public officer or employee. So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. We will enter into closed session. nothing to report out from the closed session.
We adjourn.
And we are adjourned. All right.
All right. Good night.